Welcome to the Tuesday edition of GA Today here on GHOne Television with me, Joshua Kodjo Mensah. So welcome aboard the show today. Quite a lot we've got for you from now all the way till 10 a.m. And it's always a great thing to do with you, always keeping us company as well. Remember, we are live on Facebook, also live on YouTube and on X as well. So do connect with us, and if you're leaving home, no worries at all. Just stay connected with us on social media. So yesterday, quite a number of things came up for discussion, including, but not limited to, the response from the former Power Minister, Kwabena Donkor, to the allegations people are raising concerning him because, of course, we're told that some millions of US dollars exchanged hands with the Asker deal, among others, because GHOne, we know, has been convicted of that particular crime in the United States of America, and his sentencing has been slated for the 10th day of November. So his lawyers, and interestingly, his lawyers led by Katie Hammond, who was then the ranking on the committee, he's now representing Kwabena Donkor and speaking to issues as well. And hopefully we'll be raising him on the phone lines to have further discussions on this particular subject matter and the position of Kwabena Donkor. He has stated clearly that he never met this GHOne here till date, never met him till date, and he's had no dealings whatsoever with the said gentleman who's been convicted in the US of A. And he's also intimated that no payments were made to him as sector minister for power between 2014 and 2017 that this issue came up. And he noted as well that the payments were made in the latter part of 2016 when he, Kwabena Donkor, had resigned as the Minister for Power. And so we'll be getting into the details of this particular development as well. It started over the weekend. Yesterday we heard about it. Today, hopefully we'll also get to talk more about this particular matter. But remember, get interactive with us on social media. Let us also hear your thoughts on these matters. Well, that's how we welcome you to the show this morning. So let's kick off with our quote of the day. And today's quote is from Winston Churchill, who says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. And that's our quote of the day from Winston Churchill. So once we have the quotes out of the way, it's a beautiful Tuesday morning. Let's bring you the video of the day. But then yesterday, we played back that interview with the minister responsible for government communications, Felix Kwatio. Now, he touched on a myriad of issues, ranging from the media budget review, talking about the 24-hour economy, among others. So let's bring you excerpts of that interview from State of Affairs as I sat with Felix Kwatio, talking about some of these raging national issues, as well as the MPP's demonstration against what they say is the threat to Ghana's democracy. Good evening once again, and welcome to State of Affairs here on GHOne television. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. You know, this is where we get to talk about all the topical issues and also engage the relevant people behind these issues, and also seek answers for from those who matter. And so tonight, quite a lot has been happening on the scene. Many people have talked about the constitutional review. There's been so much happening from Parliament to the executive to the judiciary, even in the world of politics, so much. So tonight, we're having a conversation with a man who is responsible, the man responsible for government communications. A very busy man, I should say. And so it's a privilege to be able to catch him and get to have a conversation with him on SOA. More importantly as well, I know that some of you may have glossed over the fact that he also represents a constituency. And so he's also the Member of Parliament for Abra Asebu Kwamankese. And we'll also talk about his constituency as well, talk about his life in Parliament as well. And so, yes, welcome to the conversation here on State of Affairs. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah. My guest tonight is the Honourable Member of Parliament for Abra Asebu Kwamankese, and also the man who speaks for the government. He's responsible for government communications, Felix Kwatio. Felix, welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing very well.
Yes, I'm hanging in there.
I mean, very, very busy schedule for you. Walk us through briefly the life of the government spokesperson when you get to the office. How is it for you?
Well, my life on a normal day starts actually before I get to the office. Sometimes as early as 5 a.m., my phone starts buzzing with a request for interviews and other interventions from a wide range of media organizations. Right. So to the extent that it is practically infeasible to do it, I speak to as many of them as I can. Yeah. Then I get to the office. I undertake my regular assignments as a minister responsible for government communication. Mind you, I superintend 6 agencies. So there's the Information Services Department, there's a Ghana Publishing Company, there's a Graphic Communications Group, New Times Corporation, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, the Ghana News Agency. So all of these agencies fall under my ambit. So I need to administer them and ensure that their day-to-day operations are going on smoothly. Then there's the other responsibility of being the president's spokesperson, and by extension, a spokesperson of the government. So there are any number of meetings that I can attend in a day. There are briefings that I need to get from colleague ministers and other public office holders, other state institutions. I need to know everything, actually. Exactly. There are reports that I get from our PROs in about 100 organizations across the country. And if you check my desk, it is right there. So I have to go through and review in order that I keep myself abreast of what is happening everywhere. There are also district information officers, regional information officers who send in reports that I must go through. And then when Parliament is in session, between 2 and 3 p.m., I need to be in Parliament to take part in legislative activity. Sometimes I have to answer questions as a Minister of State, so I do that. Sometimes I have to contribute to the debate. I have to be there to vote on issues that are, and generally represent the people of Abra Asebu Kwamankese. And then on weekends, I have to step out and go to the constituency. So for instance, I was there last weekend.
You're able to do that?
I'm able to do that. Wow. I have to, this weekend too, I'm scheduled to go. So I'm able to do that. So I combine all of these, and that is how my day looks like. Because
for some people, they feel that your job as government spokesperson and as a minister basically chips off majority of your time, so you're unable to connect with your constituents.
Oh, I do that. I do that regularly. I make it a point to be there at least every fortnight, unless external travel takes me out of the jurisdiction. But I try to do it at least every month. Right. I need to be there, and I do that religiously.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk about the president. We know he's in Jamaica.
That is true.
How is he doing?
Well, he's doing fine. The images are floated.
Yeah.
It's an important visit because Jamaica, being in the Caribbean, share historic ties with Africa. And therefore, the president is keen, especially in light of his advocacy for reparations and the leadership role he's played in drawing global attention to the subject. It was necessary to undertake such a visit to re-establish our connection, strengthen the ties that are already cordial between Ghana and Jamaica. So it's gone well, and we look forward to deepening of that relationship.
So for those who say, well, come on, these travels are not essential because they have their own, basically talking about how we are tight in terms of finances, why is the president traveling, and all of that. You say this travel is also very crucial?
Well, I think that we've moved past that debate. It used to be a debate that reared its head sometime in the 90s under President Rawlings. Then President Kodjo came in, he had his fair share of criticism. But I think that over time, Ghanaians have come to accept that debate really is unnecessary. Every president has a responsibility to represent the nation internationally. You see, we are not an island. And as we embark on development, as we pursue progress, as we seek the welfare of our citizens, there is a significant domestic component which we do on a daily basis. But we also have to have relations with other countries in various areas, so that we are able to leverage whatever advantages exist in those relationships. So I don't think that really there is such concern about the president's travel. The president doesn't travel for fun.
Right.
It is all work. That is the reason why he leaves this country to go anywhere to represent us. So I think that debate by and large has died down.
Right.
As people have come to accept and understand why it is necessary to embark on these travels.
So let's start our conversation basically from the media budget review. Quite a lot of fallout from there. Now, I'm sure you've also monitored the other side, the NPP side. They have made cases of how, well, even though the macroeconomic figures look good, it's not translating directly into the lives of the people. So you cannot say that this administration is really doing well for the people.
It is not true. A few months back, when he claimed that Ghanaians do not eat stability. So I retorted and asked him whether Ghanaians eat stability. There's a reason why we went through the economic difficulty that we went through under the MPP. It was because the macroeconomy was in disarray because of economic mismanagement. And going into the 2024 elections, the economy was the number one priority of every Ghanaian. Indeed, I dare say that the MPP lost by the margin they did because people were unhappy about the suffering and hardships they were going through as a result of the bad economic situation at the time. So having come into power, it was absolutely crucial to fix what had gone wrong and stop the bleeding that Ghanaians were going through. And the first point of call was to fix the macroeconomy. Things like inflation, the exchange rate, our debt position, all came together to afflict Ghanaians with intense, unprecedented hardships. So if we were going to come back on track, it was important to fix these things. The claim that the macroeconomic stability has not reflected in the lives is simply not true. So Kodjo, the whole of last year, almost the whole of last year, fuel came down consistently. When we came into power, it was around 15 cedis a gallon. Because all things were equal, there really was no external pressure. It came down to a point that we were buying a liter. In fact, a liter was 15 cedis under the MPP. And I'm using the figures of GHOne because they are estates. There were OMCs that were selling at higher prices, but I'm using GHOne because it's a good baseline because it's a state-owned entity. It came to a point when fuel sold under 10 cedis. And you recall the 10 cedis a liter. And you recall the price was between GHOne and other OMCs who were competing for the attention of consumers to buy their products. Now, if you were buying fuel at 15 cedis and it falls under 10 cedis, is that not savings that you've made? That is a saving that goes into your pocket. Right away, it reflects in your daily expenditure. Number two, because of that, transport operators reduced their fares by 15%, not so. Since then, there's not been an increase again, at least officially. Now, when transport fares reduce, does not lead to a direct saving for the motoring public. In addition to this, because of the exchange rate stability, coupled with the fact that Ghana is import dependent, in other words, most of the everyday items we use in our lives are imported. there were corresponding reductions. You see, I track prices on a monthly basis. So I have a price list that I obtained from the Ghana Statistical Service and other market service. So I check. Many items have reduced in price compared to the time that the NPP was in power. And this is not a fabrication on my part. We all live it. Of course, could it have fallen further? Why not? We also do know that there are some who engage in rent-seeking behavior. They say that price is sticky downwards. In other words, when they set the price, they don't want it to reduce, even when the factors that led to the fixing of the initial price come down.
In fact, we had the president even appeal.
Absolutely. So rent-seeking is there. What it costs you to import the items has come down significantly. So, for instance, if you were importing rice, say the price on the world market was $10. In 2024, because you needed about 16 cedis to $1 to import it, your price for importing that would be higher than if you imported it in 2025 when the cedi was at 10 cedis.
Right.
So the cost to the importer is lower. Duty payments. Indeed, I checked with the Ghana, with customs. And they told me, in fact, they brought me evidence that there's a cement manufacturing company whose cost for importing clinker, which is a critical ingredient for manufacturing cement, had reduced by over 6 million cedis per ton because of the appreciation of the currency, and which had led to a reduction in duty payment. So on what basis can the price of cement be increased in the face of this evidence that the cost for manufacturing cement had come, at least on the import side, had come down? The same for rice, sugar, oil. We know that a gallon of oil was selling around 1,200 Ghana cedis under the NPP. It came down to around 600 cedis at some point. And I have a price list that told hundreds of items which show reductions. There are some items too that have remained the same because people are engaged in rent seeking. They simply don't want to reduce even though the factors have reduced. So the general claim that the macroeconomic indicators which have improved have not reflected in the lives of people is not generally true. It is the regular propaganda that an opposition party does, but it does not match the reality on the ground. Of course, things can be much better, and we continue to work as a government to ensure that this happens. But any claim that things have not improved simply cannot be true.
Because the finance minister makes the claim that yes, indeed, the first 1.5 years was to make sure that things had stabilized, and now we would in the coming years see the progress that people are anticipating, the pace of progress they are anticipating. But you talk about the rent-seeking attitude. It's a worry for the government then, if you are putting the measures to ensure that there is price stability, there is reduction, and the people don't reduce it, which means that the few on the grounds too do not get to benefit from it. Well, what is government doing about it?
Well, some comply with it. I've told you about the examples of the OMCs.
Yes, they did. But what about the rest?
There are some who engage. Unfortunately, we are in a liberalized economic environment. And there's merit in having that environment because we've tried price controls before and it didn't work. It simply led to smuggling and hoarding, which actually led to prices skyrocketing because government does not control the availability of these items on the market because government does not import to sell. It is not the business of government to do so. It's a largely private sector activity. So there are some who take advantage of that to engage in hoarding. But that is the reason why there is competition. There are some too who see merit in ensuring that their prices correspond with the factors that lead to pricing and therefore reduce it in order to attract customers, like happened with the OMCs.
Yes.
Prices came down generally, so everywhere you went, prices were low. But there were some
Well, thank you so much for staying on with us. This is Jay today here on GH1 Television, and this is the Breakfast Review segment where we get to talk about the issues that are making the rounds, quite a lot of them. And so my guests are seated, and I have Lom Nuku Ahlija. He is a private legal practitioner joining us on the show, and he's here with another private legal practitioner who is also a law lecturer at the UPSA Law Faculty, and also a member of the NPP's Legal Directorate, Ishaq Ibrahim. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to have you, Lom.
Yeah. It's good to be here as well.
Right.
And I'm also a lecturer.
Oh,
Yes,
fantastic.
Gimpa Law School.
Oh,
Exactly.
okay.
Yes. We are both in academia.
Yeah,
as well.
and practice. Fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah.
Ishaq, it's been a minute.
That's right. Yes, I was quite busy elsewhere.
Right.
I'm also a farmer as well.
Oh, okay.
So sometimes I'm very busy in the north doing some farming.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and then good morning to you. Good morning to our viewers,
Right.
and especially good morning to my daughter, who is 16 years exactly today.
Wow.
She was born 11th August 2010.
Wow.
So it's quite a milestone, and I would like
Absolutely.
to especially wish her
Right.
a happy birthday.
So happy birthday
Thank you.
to Ishaq's daughter. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Yes.
You have a great father.
Yes, and also I understand today is the Honorable Minister for Foreign Affairs'
Yes,
birthday. So,
yes.
I would like to also wish him a very happy birthday.
We all wish him
and,
happy birthday.
Yes.
to keep up the good work.
Yeah,
Yes.
and he went to the best school in Ghana, so senior that year, good morning and happy birthday to you. We are the only school surrounded by universities. It tells you something. Yeah. All right, so Ishaq, let me start with you quickly on this before we get into the matters. Last week, your party held a demonstration.
Yes.
And it was to send a message
Yes.
loud and clear that
Yes.
democracy is under threat.
Yes.
Were you available for the demonstration?
I wasn't available that day. In fact, we had some academic board meeting, but I managed to get to where they were submitting the petition at the Jubilee House. So as I got there, I think within 30 minutes, they wind down. But I think it was in order. Before the presentation, the NDC had tried to derail it. They tried to blackmail us. It was almost emotional blackmail. To say that it was the anniversary of the day that some of our...
But how is that blackmail? Because the day was set before you set a date for the demonstration.
No, well, I am sure that those people who died, and particularly know Mutala quite well.
Yeah.
I'll probably say he was a good friend. We met a number of times in the 90s, and then subsequently when I returned, and then we meet on TV stations. And I think he was a good Democrat. There's no Democrat who will frown upon somebody demonstration exercising a constitutional right. So for me, the talk that we are demonstrating the day they died, I mean, it's quite just an emotional blackmail. Because I'm not sure these two are mutually exclusive. And for me, when I reflect in my culture, we don't really have anniversary of people deaf. So when they say Ghanaian culture, I'm not really sure what they're talking about. We do not have a homogeneous Ghanaian culture. And I've asked other people within their culture whether the concept of anniversary is even in their culture. It seems to be a Western thing, the anniversary of somebody else death. So I am not really sure. But as a Democrat, if the Constitution allows people to peacefully demonstrate, and they are doing it, how does that swell their memories? So I don't agree with them, especially when they are demonstrating. It's quite fundamental because we have a government that has used free speech to campaign to come to power. In fact, they abuse free speech in cornering the good people of Ghana. In fact, this is a scam government. Everything they said they were going to do, they are doing the opposite. Their mantra called reset. When you ask them why did they infringe upon people's right to free speech, what they do is that they point to the past, to certain thing that has happened similar to what they are doing. Why then do you campaign on what? Reset. And they also commit the fallacy of we have to be consistently wrong to be right. So if you complain about certain things were done in the past that weren't good, why are you repeating them?
Right.
This is why we say they con people on their way. So for us, the chapter 5 rights listed in the Constitution, and to some extent, the chapter 6 rights, They are fundamental. Right. They are part of us. You cannot take the executive powers given to you without actually also embracing them. Right. So free speech is actually being disregarded by this government. In fact, they fringe upon it. And to demonstrate and to highlight this particular issue to Ghanaians was very, very important.
Very well.
And then the next one is stumbling upon the rise of your opponents. Everybody knows the opposition MPP is the main opposition party in the country. Yeah. In a democracy, you are not only having the right to rule, you have to also embrace minority rights. Right. Nobody says that if previous government ministers, executive or whatever, who occupy a public position is accused of wrongdoing, nobody says you shouldn't investigate. Nobody says you should not effect arrest. But the manner in which you do it matters so much. Okay. And so far, how they are going about it, we think they are doing it wrongly. They are picking on MPP members. In fact, their ultimate goal is to collapse the opposition party. So why can that? How can you have a democracy when you do not have the opposition to hold you to account?
Very well.
They have forgotten that if the good people of Ghana elect you to govern, they're also giving a mandate to the opposition to hold you accountable.
Right.
And if they are not allowed to speak freely, everything they say, you're going after those people. And I'm glad that some of their members are equally speaking against it. And I think the ultimate one we have to talk about is the bail conditions that they are asking people to meet. 70 million CDs, 20 million CDs, 2 or 3 landed properties in your own name. How many people possess this particular thing? And if you are asking people to bring these things, and if the government of the day do not speak against it, you are setting a precedent.
But they say
if a future government asks you to bring 50 goats or 300 cattle before you get your freedom, how can you then fight it?
But they say it is in line with the crime committed. That's what determines the bail. Yes. In terms of the gravity of the crime that is you are alleged to have committed, that determines the kind of bail
if that
you get,
is the
right?
argument, is it within the spirit of the judgment that was passed in Martin Pebo? The popular case, Martin Pebo, that every crime is bailable in Ghana. So if every crime is bailable in Ghana and you put this kind of impediments,
but you have a right of review.
70 million. So but if the review continue with that, is it within that spirit?
Okay.
So I think a judge sitting on the case have to decide bail on the basis that every crime is bailable in Ghana. And if you put a condition that people cannot meet, are we really saying it's bailable?
Okay. Well, Lom, let me bring into the conversation on briefly the demonstration against what they say is the threat against our democracy.
Yeah. Well, I think, and I've said this on another platform, I think that the MPP may not have considered the date specifically. It was chosen, but maybe at the time of the decision to do the demonstration on that particular day, it was not, there was no conscious effort, or if I should say, there was no consciousness about it that it would conflict with the anniversary celebration.
Right.
And you see that was quite apparent in terms of who was even present to receive the petition. Yeah, because anybody in the current administration was not present because they were all taking part in various activities related to that. So for me, that date was a clash that obviously would have affected or undermined the whole demonstration and everything. But for me, when it comes to these conversations, I want us to focus on institutions of state and how we talk about them to ensure that they stand the test of time. For example, when it comes to, we say rule of law is under threat. We've heard, for example, comments that maybe Wontumi, for example, is a political prisoner. I'm sure you've heard that term specifically.
In fact, the minority in parliament said that.
Yes. Now, when you say or make a statement like that, one of the things that it does is that it brings the judiciary, particularly, into disrepute. Why? Because Wontumi was not jailed by the prosecutors or those who took him to court. They were jailed by a judge who was sitting in a court of competent jurisdiction. What it means is that as far as that judge is concerned, the elements of the offense which the person was being tried on have been met, and for that reason the judge has given judgment in a certain way. Sentence follows that judgment. Beyond that, we know that there are processes within the law to allow for a challenge of a decision of a court, like the High Court. So whether it is through appeal or through the supervisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, there are options that are available in law. Now, when a judge makes that decision, it is subject to critique in terms of the law, whether it was on point as far as all the laws were concerned, but not in terms of the character or personality of the judge. So in this case, when we talk about being a political prisoner, the question is, who are we referring to? I think that when we are essentially putting the judges or the judiciary into the political sphere, and that is so terrible, because at the end of the day, the judiciary is the last line of defense. When our two major political parties in this country had issues with the presidential elections, where did we go to? We went to the courts. Yeah. So the courts should be allowed to do their work, and when they do their work, their critique about their work should be on the law and what they have done. That's why we have the appeal process and so on. For High Court, it's one judge. Court of Appeal, you have 3 judges. Supreme Court can be 5, 7, 9, 11, and all, so on and so forth. So for me, that's the focus that we should go on. Now, we are talking about free speech. A lot of conversations have gone around whether what TikTok has said is correct or not correct, and whether somebody has. But you see, let's be clear. That section 207, 208 that we have in our Criminal Procedure Act, it is not about merely insulting. It must be insult, it must be conduct, it must be behavior that leads to a potential breach of the peace. In other words, it is how the language is spoken and whether it is inciting or lead to chaos and so on. Now, I saw in one of the instances that one of the TikTokers who was being tried for that, when she did go to court, she pled guilty. She should have challenged or defended her position. You see, when you plead guilty, what it essentially means in law is that you're accepting that what you are supposedly done, you have done it. Yeah. So for me, free speech generally should be allowed, and we should encourage more of those. But so to the extent that that provision or those provisions remain in the Criminal Offences Act, then those are the things we have to deal with. But let's be clear, it's not about insults. It is about insult, or it's about conduct, or it's about language which incites a breach of the peace. Those elements must be present before you can have that offense or offenses made out. So that is another thing. Now, again, as I've said, with democracy, and Richard said this, everybody's free to exercise their right, absolutely so. Some of the cultural nuances are there. It's true that it's not blanket for the whole country and everywhere. However, there are some cultures where there's a 1-year wait period, generally for most things. In fact, widows, for example, sometimes have to be essentially in black for 1 year before they take it off, depending on the culture. So it's not uniform across the country, but some cultures have it. And we can see, for example, in this case that the 1-year anniversary indeed was celebrated. And that's why I said, the date would have been chosen with that in mind, but you see that affected the outcome, because in the end, when, for example, the petition was being presented at the Jubilee House, then people were not happy with the personality who came to receive it. But at the end of the day, like I'm saying, everybody in the administration was taking part in celebrations related to that. So perhaps that date could have been moved a day earlier, a day later, and to have accomplished that objective. The last time the MPP had a similar demonstration, it was the Deputy Chief of Staff who received it, which is high-ranking enough. But in this case, you are saying that is not the case. But the truth is that everybody's gone for the celebration. So for me, I think that the right to demonstrate, to express grievances and so on should be done, but we should be careful about how we do it and the specific institutions we are targeting, and whether indeed those institutions are doing their work as they are supposed to, and we should critique them on the basis of their work, and not comments that suggest as if, what the judges have done or what the courts have decided are outside the bounds of law. No. Every right of appeal is there, and every right to go to a higher court to have the decision reviewed can be explored, and I think that should be it. Yeah.
Right. I like the fact that we have 2 lawyers in studio, because our first topic for discussion, actually, substantively for this morning, would have to be the issue surrounding the conviction of GHOne in the United States of America. and the conversations that have followed that particular conviction. Now, people are asking quite a number of questions. The Deputy Attorney General has had cause to state that indeed it is something that they are also looking into here after the conviction and then he also gave indication that people or persons who are found culpable would actually be dealt with here in the country. And for you, Ishak, how does all of this come to you, especially looking at the processes and the revelations that we are getting from this particular development? Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who was Prime Minister at the time, has come out to flatly deny that he didn't receive any $1 million.
Yes, he has denied it. But if you look at the proceedings from the United States, it's very clear that while they were looking about the interests of the United States, I believe the actual effect was on Ghana. Because they believe that such practices undermine competition rules in the United States. And the United States banking system were actually used. But as the law usually says, it's not only the giver of the bribe who is in trouble, the receiver. In fact, the receiver is the actual culprit. But then, nevertheless, we need to discourage people from giving. And in their case, I am not really sure whether they mentioned this gentleman by name, but they just said the minister at that time.
Yes.
And I think journalists and co were able to put things together to say that, well, he was the minister at that time. And I also think they mentioned some parliamentarians or parliamentary officials from Ghana who had traveled to Turkey.
Exactly.
Expenses fully paid.
And members of PURC and the other agencies as well.
Yes. And this was a period that, as Ghanaian, we really, really suffered. That was a period the now infamous word Dumso was invented to describe disaster at that particular time. Meaning that those people who were engaged in taking bribes were not really thinking about the interests of Ghana. They were more or less thinking about their personal interests. And for me, once there is evidence, enough evidence following an investigation, it is in the public interest to prosecute such crime. And for me, the investigation should start from getting the information that United States have already established in their investigations.
Okay.
In fact, it's quite easy if you trace their investigation. It's able to point to where the money went and others. Yes, even though they have said the minister, just as I argue in support of whether opposition members or every other Ghanaian, we shall afford them every available opportunity to clear their name. If indeed they are innocent, they ought to go. If they are not innocent, of course, let the law take its own course. And it starts with the presumption of innocence. And I think yesterday, it was quite interesting when I listened to his lawyer. Apparently, Katie Hammond is his lawyer, which is an interesting choice.
Yeah, he was the ranking on the committee then.
Yes, which is also an interesting choice in the sense that usually we are very suspicious of people in the opposite side. So for him to have come forward, and I think it is a good thing. It also celebrates our democracy and that let the law take its course. But this is actually a test for the government because we, as members of the opposition, we have already seen what the Irish people will say, even a dog knows the difference between being kicked and being tripped upon. It's as if they are kicking on members of the opposition already. Because if we see that some people are vigorously prosecuted, but others you are entering nolle prosequi, or you are not interested in prosecuting them, or some cases the Attorney General have appealed to the Supreme Court from the Court of Appeal in the case of Atufosin and Co. And then you discontinue them, and you are vigorously pursuing members of the opposition. If you fail to really take action in this particular case by at least investigating, letting Ghanaians know whether they indeed actual bribes or not, then the thing will speak for itself. That you are not really interested in fighting corruption. You are interested in going after your opponents. So whilst we say that he should be presumed to be innocent, and that they should act where the evidence takes them, they must have the appetite to act. And I think we are sitting down, critically looking at them, how they act also matters.
Because there are some who have said that the process of a parliamentary committee
Yes.
embarking on a trip to do assessment of these equipment and things, and having to be taken care of is nothing new, and so that cannot be equated to bribery.
It can be. It can be. I remember, I'm not really sure why we often, again, excuse me, we often lie about our culture. If there are certain aspects of our culture that is corrupt, we ought to say it's corrupt. Like in my culture, there is this language that you don't go to the chief palace in empty hands.
Yes.
But he's the chief. He has so much more than me. Why do I, who is struggling, don't have to go there in empty hands? So for me, this particular aspect of our culture encourage us to give. We must have a critical look at it. Here is the case, we have adopted democracy that is also a bit foreign to us. And if that is the best practice, why don't we adopt it as a good practice? And I remember some years ago, there was some expensive scandal in the Westminster Parliament. In fact, it's said to be the first parliament in Ghana where many parliamentarians went to prison. I'm not sure whether you heard about it. Expensive scandal in the United Kingdom Parliament, whereby parliamentarians were allowed to make a claim for a second home. So if you're having, so they will pay 2 rent. Some of them did not have second home, and they were more or less faking receipts to claim money. So parliamentary corruption is not only confined to Ghana, but whether you take action is a different thing.
Right.
In our case, we lie about the culture. We use the culture and tradition all the time as an excuse. No, they must investigate if inappropriate money were being paid. Yeah. For example, if it is not confined to your hotel, maybe paying for your accommodation and then paying for food might be part of your courtesy and your air ticket. But if you are coming back home with 50,000, 60,000, how can that be a courtesy? That is pure bribe, pure corruption. And if that really influences your judgment, and especially look at some of the contracts we often sign. By the way, I teach public international law, and then judgment debt is one of the concerns that we have. And I think ever since the Central Bank of Nigerian case, whereby they say a state can no longer plead on sovereign immunity if you engage in private commercial contracts. Sovereign immunity cannot be pleaded. It's like African countries are on the receiving ends. I'm just glad Ghana is not the worst place. But if you look at Liberia and Sierra Leone, how this judgment debt is affecting them. And what usually happens is that the present government official will sign judgment debt. And the subsequent government will come and find them so unacceptable. And you ask yourself, whose side were they with? Were they with the other side or our side? It's just like what the government wanted to sign, the lithium deal. When previously you said, was it 5% was not good enough? And you are coming to give them a whopping 10%. You ask yourself, whose side are you with? It's like certain things usually do to the official to move them. So if we see evidence of this, we shouldn't argue it's a cultural thing. Let's investigate. Give the information to the public. We can measure. We are part of the traditions and culture. We'll see whether this is a clear courtesy or it was something that had moved some people to make a decision that was detrimental to Ghana.
Right. Long, do you also find it interesting, the choice of KT Hammond deciding to represent Dr. Kwabena Donkor in this particular matter and having to speak on his behalf?
Well, it's interesting, but not surprising. I mean, in fact, it is usually foot soldiers who like to fight, opponents of other parties. But the truth is that at the national level, highest levels, most politicians are actually friends and colleagues. I don't know if you remember one time when Dr. Kwabena Donkor was giving an interview in Parliament.
And KT went.
I'm sure they are friends from a long time ago, and obviously this would be the time for him to perhaps count on his friend. So for me, that is, a case. And we've seen many situations like that where supposedly people who were NDC or MPP representing others on the other side. It's okay. So long as that's the Constitution guarantees the right to choose your counsel in any given matter and you believe that that's a person who's competent to handle your case, then so be it. So that's one dimension. The other side, which is interesting also, is that you see that this case is actually, if I should say, more or less cross-party, because it's not just with the Beck we are talking about, for example, at least we know was appointed during the MPP administration as an MD of TOR. So there's some connection to the MPP side. We've seen that even from the case, apart from what they call senior government official 1 and 2, if you see the other what they call the co-conspirators, mostly they are not even politicians. So it means that yes, the government officials in this case were referring to NDC time. So all of that, and then you see also from the statement that GHOne signed on behalf of his client that he said even the deal continued into 2017, and in other words, if any payments were made, even went to. So it's not. This one is a Ghana matter. It's not NDC MPP matter. It's not partisan in that case because Beck, all these players seem to be on different sides. And it's interesting also that GHOne was also on that parliamentary committee because we know that Parliament is also being referenced. At least the Mines and Energy or Energy and Mines Committee may also have been in the equation somehow. There's a mix there. So for me, it's good to see that at least the Attorney General or Deputy Attorney General has said that it's on the table for investigation and so on. In this case, it's not one of those investigations where we need to start from the bottom. In other words, where you are starting afresh to uncover information. The U.S. federal prosecutors have done part of the job. So there's some, if I say, underlying material which we can also request through our mutual legal assistance we have with the U.S. to get the base evidence and all of that. In fact, OSP has also indicated through a statement that they supported the U.S. effort through some evidence, and so on, which means that U.S. prosecutors may have asked them to support them with some information, which they have done. So we have some already here, and then we can get even more from the U.S. so that to bring clarity to it. And on this particular matter, I also side with the Ishaq. We need to have some ground rules, code of conduct for public officers, laws that relate or regulate how these things should be done. Because the truth is that, and you made this allusion when you asked the question to him that, is this strange? Is this surprising? Because interestingly, it is quite common than we think in terms of what happens when, our officials are handling a deal outside Ghana. What level of payment is done? What level of support is given? If it's even, as he mentioned, hotel and maybe accommodation.
Food accommodation.
There's a big difference between a 7-star hotel accommodation and a 3-star hotel. Do you get my point? Like, there are certain even amenities that you can make available, which will be beyond normal, even if it's not fiscal cash. You get it? So that's why in other jurisdictions, for example, let's say the US, they have certain rules around gifts. I recall, I think when it was President Clinton's time, he was given a watch. They have a very low threshold. I think it's $200 or something. Any gift you receive beyond the $200, you have to declare and turn in the gift to the Office of Public Accountability. The only basis on which you can keep it is that you pay for the difference. So if somebody gives you a Rolex watch that is $50,000, you pay less $200. Then you can own it. You are not going to be able to take that watch home and use it on your wrist and use it to flex around town or anything. You can't, because they have those kinds of rules. So that's what I'm saying, that even when we talk about accommodation or we talk about feeding and so on, or even how you are transported, there are different levels of comfort that can be given which are beyond normal, even if fiscal cash is not involved. So that is the thing. And for so long as we don't have some policy that regulates these things and sets clear benchmarks, there'll always be this line between whether the support came in terms of accommodation or whether it came in terms of transportation and so on and so forth. So for me, that is it. Once the Deputy Attorney General has made it clear that investigation will be carried out, it must be carried out, because this is one of the cases where every Ghanaian is waiting for an outcome. In other words, we know that the US have completed their side, and we are implicated as Ghanaians, so we want to know what's going to happen on the Ghana side as well. And as I said, you can see the cross-cutting.
And that's why it gets interesting, because Martin Amidu has also indicated that the office started investigation into this matter. And then, after 2020, it disappeared from the published list of cases under investigations.
Of course, Martin Amidu was the OSP
Yes.
at a point,
Yes.
and he resigned. New OSP comes in. There are many things that can happen. You know that what they call prosecutorial discretion. Before it kicks in, you must decide what resources you have, which investigations you can do. So, for instance, the OSP can even decide. Because, I'm sure you recall that in the beginning, one of the things that even led Martin Amidu to resign was the fact that the office was not resourced enough.
Yeah.
And when the other OSP came in, that's Kisi Jabi, he also had challenges for a while. So, for example, it is very possible for OSP to decide that, should I investigate issue A or B? I have limited resources. Which one should I go for? Maybe issue A is the Berko case. The US is doing it. So I can choose to spend resources elsewhere. Maybe eventually you can still get the evidence that they were able to gather or support them in a minimal way. It can be a decision, a choice to make.
No, I understand.
The fact that
He actually helped.
yes, in fact, they have issued a statement to say they helped.
They provided
but is it, the,
evidentiary
question,
support.
yes, the question is that if it was on Ghana's investigative list, how come it's no longer on Ghana's investigative?
Yes.
Which means that, like I'm saying, at some point, sometimes decisions have to be made as to whether to proceed or not. And in this case, they didn't say they completely stopped. They helped the U.S. in this investigation.
Yep.
Now, the U.S. also uncovered more than what we had, because the Ghana element is one. If you read, I don't know if you've read the indictment, the grand jury indictment, they say that, for example, the Turkish company, AXA, they used the Goldman Sachs as a U.S. transactions advisor. And it says in that indictment that they essentially use the U.S. banking system to facilitate the transfers of the funds.
Yeah.
That's where the U.S. is triggered. Because, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act of the U.S. essentially says that if you are a U.S. person, whether citizen, permanent residence, what have you, or company, if you engage in bribery or corruption anywhere in the world, you can be prosecuted. Anywhere. It doesn't matter whether the thing happened in the U.S. or not.
Yeah.
But they repeatedly say in that indictment that the U.S. banking system was used to facilitate it. So the U.S. had some elements and they needed some part from Ghana, which OSP says it supports. But like I'm saying, now the case is closed as far as the U.S. trial is concerned. So the OSP, apart from the part that they played, should also be able to get U.S. support in terms of what U.S. also found on their side. And obviously, as the Attorney General is also interested, and this will be the time to essentially take action on it so that we see the head or tail of it, because Ghanaians will want an answer, because we know in this case that the U.S. side has been done. In fact, if you see the indictment, it's not only Berko that was under scrutiny, his company was as well. Because even though Goldman Sachs was not directly they didn't find evidence that Goldman Sachs was the one facilitating it. In the indictment, it says that it was also for their benefit. Because if they don't execute the deal properly, it will affect their ability to make money from AXA and all of that.
Yeah.
And the reason why they chose Berko to lead it is because he's of Ghanaian origin, so that he can have, the cultural elements and all of that, which is the cultural element.
Exactly.
So that is it. And that's why I'm saying that in this case, we cannot say that no action. We want to see that.
We want to see action. And still on Martin Amidu, let me come to you, Ishak, on this one. Because Martin says, listen, it's laughable that the Deputy AG is now saying that we've taken notice of this and we are going to investigate. Because he says that if we're committed, we wouldn't have even scrapped it in the first place. We wouldn't wait for the US to run it this way. Then we say we are now interested in looking into the matter.
I'm not sure where he's coming from. As my colleague have already explained, sometimes doing something simultaneously might not be helpful. If one investigation is already advanced, maybe it is always better for you to wait for it. For example, if you have a choice of dealing with issue in a civil case and in a criminal case, it's always advisable you wait for the criminal case to end, because we have this thing beyond reasonable doubt. So once the person is found guilty beyond reasonable doubt, when it comes to civil case, the balance of probability is always easier. So for me, I don't really see it to be fatal. If they have no appetite of investigating after the U.S. have concluded their work, then that side will have a problem. But as to whether somebody, I don't really know what informed, whether they are, as you said, the special prosecutor was handling it, not the Attorney General department. And I'm not sure which Attorney General is he talking about, because 2020, it was the MPP Attorney General who was also in charge. So if the special prosecutor who was handling it thought it best that the U.S. case has already been advanced, let them conclude, then we will take the other side. As my friend said, much of the work has been done. I don't want to say 50%, perhaps more than 50% has been done. So some names are concealed, but those investigators are able to tell their Ghanaian counterparts who were their actual name. And this guy would actually be incorporated. Because once he's in trouble in the United States, he's equally a Ghanaian.
Absolutely.
He can equally be in trouble in Ghana.
Yeah.
And we have the plea bargain deal. So if he's already facing 30 years in the United States, so if they were to release him for Ghana to have him to get further one, he might be willing to talk to the authorities to have a deal. And through that way, he's able to amass the name that has been masked in the United States case for us to really know how was the money facilitated as part of the plea deal. So that maybe perhaps 30 years for me. I'm not sure whether they have sentenced him yet.
No,
but
November 10th.
Go up to 30 years.
November 10th.
So depending on how much they give him, it could be enough for him. And then he would then help Ghana by helping us to see how the money was facilitated, the magnitude of the amount that was received. It could also help us to find out whether the parliamentarians or parliamentary officials, were they really tokens given to them or not. But I'm not sure. I think our system too should be, I think we should, are we saying that we don't really have a law that already frown upon some of these gifts? So for example, in the case of the UK, I think it was, it's 50 pounds, I understand. And there was some years ago, I think 1997, when Tony Blair had traveled to Dubai and was given a gift, and apparently the wife was interested in it. So they got a valuer who had valued it for $49.99. And then she took it home, and the journalist went, and then it became a diplomatic row because the United Arab Emirates said, how can we give the United Kingdom Prime Minister's £49.99 gift? This is really an insult for us. It became a diplomatic issue that she had to go and hand it over. They have a gift office. If it's worth more than that, you have to hand it over. Because we want people to really act in the interest of the country, not their own personal interest. In other words, if you act in your personal interest, the much of the benefit goes to the other side because they would have earned more. Who knows? Maybe there was a competitor who would have provided less cost for Ghana when it comes to the electricity if we had gone to them. How much money did we lose for this particular side? So it might not just be the bribe alone. It could actually be the actual effect. Did we lose so much by going for AXA if we could have gone for other companies?
Right.
So I'm not sure where Martin Amidu is coming from. Perhaps as a special prosecutor, he has access to more information than myself here. Well,
I'm sure that maybe in the coming days we'll get to hear from Martin more on this matter because he says it's an insult to Ghanaians for the Deputy Attorney General to say that they are now going to investigate the matter. But then, I mean, we've not heard from him.
Because the OSP's office is different from the Attorney General. In the sense that it's possible that OSP may have been investigating it. Of course, we know that they are required to submit reports to the Attorney General, to the public and so on. But looking at the time frames he's talking about and all that, it's even possible that this current Attorney General and his deputy may not have been privy now. Because if it was taken off the list before...
Yes.
And all of that. So there's a lot. But bottom line, in Ghana also, there's no limitation on crime. You can even be prosecuted 50 years after the event. So it's good that the U.S. has concluded this in terms of the GHOne matter. And so this is a good time as any. That's why I said that at this point now, Ghanaians, we need answers. So there will be no way that... So for me, it's good that we have an indication from the Deputy Attorney General that further action will be taken because we've seen that something has happened in respect to that matter in the U.S. and this is the time to
Well, but let me find your thoughts on this. We're moving to our next topic, the shake-up in the ministerial appointment. So the MPP has been crying for a year, asking why we do not have a substantive defense minister. And after the commemoration of the 1-year anniversary of their passing, we now have a minister responsible for defense. We've seen movements as well in terms of Zanetor getting her appointments. People say this has been in the waiting for way too long. Yes, we've seen Ahmed Ibrahim move to housing. Also, the majority leader now moving to the ministry responsible for local governance, religious affairs, and chieftaincy affairs as well. What's your take on that?
Again, what the Chak doesn't want to hear, perhaps the cultural element was still at play. No, I'm saying this because you see that immediately after the very next day, the announcement came that, so we don't know whether perhaps the president also wanted that 1 year.
There are those who have also argued, even though this is not officially from the presidency, that because of the relationship the president had with Omani Boama and the rest, he wanted to properly mourn them for a year, after which then positions can be filled.
As you said, it's not official.
Yeah, it's not official. So
yes. But what we do know is that every minister serves at the pleasure of the president.
True.
Of course, we've had a time in this country where we've had 120 ministers, we've had 100, we've had 80, 70, all of that. So if today the president has said that I can work with 60, and for some reason we know quite a sad day it was when, because of that disaster, we lost 2 of our ministers. And the president, in his wisdom, feels that he could make do with 58 or so, whilst it takes time to replace them because of the process of mourning them, honoring their legacy, their memory, and all of that. And I'll take this opportunity to wish the family well, God strengthen them and keep them even as they continue to mourn, and the rest of the country as well. So it's quite possible that the president wanted that period. And again, as I said, culturally, there's some cultures that recognize a 1 year period.
Sure.
So perhaps that is what it was, because we see that the very next day after the 1 year anniversary, this announcement came out, and we've seen that the appointments have been made to replace the late Dr. Martin Boama and Dr. Mutala. Both are people that I know quite well, worked with in various capacities in the past. They were all student leaders like myself, and we are paths across many different ways. And so now we have 2 appointments made new, and then of course some changes here. Of course, you describe it as a shake-up, which I don't think is appropriate yet.
Right.
Because we are also still looking forward to some reshuffle in terms of perhaps...
So you're part of the people who are looking forward to more?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Because the replacement of the 2, yes, must happen. And then we've just seen new changes here and there. But there are obviously calls for a reshuffle generally, where it will affect other places. But bottom line, yes, we all know, the mandate is for the president, and the president is the one executing his mandate. So the president, at any point in time, makes decisions on who's best in his team to execute that mandate. So if the president is confident in the people he has placed at various places, then it's likely not to change. But given the let's say commentary around certain positions and offices, I'm sure that there may be some changes also coming down the line. Now, you talked about the Zanetor finally. Yeah, because again, these are sentiments that, as you say, are being expressed in the public, and where people have been asking, what's happening? What is that?
Why is she not getting any appointment?
But you must know that the president has, at least in this particular term, a wide range of people to choose from because of the sheer number of even NDC MPs that there are. You see, so there have been those calls for Zanetor in particular, and again, as we've seen with time, that has happened. But there are still many more in Parliament as well. In fact, the person who right now we know has been tipped to be the majority leader, at one point, yes, was a deputy minister of state in the previous Mahama administration. And we know that, for example, there were even calls for him to be a minister, or why is there a minister? So, and like I'm saying, these are decisions that the president has to make. So it's not easy like we sometimes say, oh, remove this person, put this person. So you have so many people to choose from. And we know that the constitutional gag remains because that has not been amended. The president must still choose
from Parliament.
Yes, more than 50% from Parliament, he must definitely cross the half. So if two of the persons that he had within or his administration who passed away, unfortunately, one of them, Murtala, was a minister, was an MP. So definitely, you needed to make sure that he continues to balance it out just as it was originally. So these are huge challenges and considerations. But again, I'm looking forward to some further movements. Yes, changes.
Do you have specific areas? Because the UP yesterday mentioned clearly that they want to see some changes with regards to the agric ministry, because they've not seen much from the agric ministry. Others have also talked about communications and digitalization. They are asking to see fresh faces and all of that. Do you have specific ministries that you are looking forward to seeing these things happen?
Not particularly. However, again, as I said, it's not even you could have ministers or persons in positions who are already doing well or performing.
Yeah.
But perhaps there are still others who can help to make it even better. As for maybe they're coming from UP, Agric Ministry, what's the challenge there? The main thing to evaluate any minister by is what the mandate of that ministry is and what the manifesto of the NDC is. Because, again, as I say, in our country, we don't have unlimited resources. We have resources for... We are tight, so you always have to focus on some things. And the way in which we measure whether a minister is performing well or not is what, for example, the manifesto issues are as far as that particular ministry is concerned, because the government came into office based on a message that was communicated. We talked about increasing agric mechanization, the farmer centers, having tools and equipment available for, let's say, mass communities to have access to, opening up channels for trade and exports and so on. I've seen a lot that GEPA is doing, of course, in collaboration with Agric Ministry and so on. So, well, as for specifics, I'm sure we can have a conversation around that sometime. But for now, I think that it's not a shake-up yet.
Yes,
it is, yeah, there just be some...
Slight movement.
Yes, slight movement. But perhaps a shake-up will come soon.
Okay. Ishak, finally, we have a defense minister. That should set your heart at peace.
Okay. Again, as his writer said, we've again used the culture as an excuse. The most important office in Ghana was the presidency.
Yeah.
I'm not saying collectively those who died are not important. But if you look at it in order of importance, the most important, as far as our constitution is concerned, is the presidency. We had unfortunately had a certain president who died. We replaced him within 24 hours. Was the culture and the tradition not there? Was the culture and the tradition not there? And for you to say that, not just you, other people say he had personal relationship with him. He wanted to honor them. Honor the dead, nobody said no. My way of honoring the dead is usually a prayer. Whatever gimmicks you do in the name of it, you have to have the interest of the whole country at heart. Were they important to be filled, or the honor was... I mean, you see, people have already suffered pain, and training on this area is quite a difficult area, because you do not want to belittle what has happened.
Yeah.
And you don't want people to use it as just an excuse to do whatever they want to do. Because I believe that honoring them would be to preserve their legacy. And preserving their legacy would have been to get people who would step in immediately. As a father, as my father, if one day he passes on, he wants to know that I can quickly step in. Not be mourning for moms and moms and moms that whatever legacy he is leaving, I'm not able to preserve. So there are some people who also look at memories that way. If he passes on, am I able to carry on? Or if I am so, I'm not sure whether I should use, what word can I use? Depressed. To the extent that I cannot continue for some time. I have to wait for some time before I move on. I understand people have different way of mourning. Sure. But this particular way, I think it is not really a cultural thing. And some people say, oh, even the departed, sometimes we don't distribute the clothing quickly. We have to wait some period. But it's different from asking somebody to continue to work on their behalf. Does that mean an organization, like if you have a ported organization, God forbid the finance director, the something director, everybody dies. Should the company temporarily be shut down? So I am not saying those things shut down, but the fact was that there was no substantive minister in those particular areas.
But also supervising minister.
Yes, but
And a deputy
that's a
minister.
part-time job. They had taken the defense minister as a part-time job. Do you understand that? They had a main job. That means their concentration was on their area.
Right.
So for me, I don't really buy it. Having said that, appointments have now been made.
Yes.
I don't have problem with any of those appointments. But when you look at social media, there are a lot of concerns raised about the suitability of Muhammad Yarga for the chieftaincy local government minister. Not that he's not competent, at least being a majority leader in parliament for a number of years. Competency, nobody doubted. Whether he is suitable. Remember that the chieftaincy conflict in Boko is not yet resolved. He's from that. In fact, he is the MP for that particular area. And it's a delicate issue. There could be a conflict of interest. I think that area is also preparing to petition for a new region. And as a local government minister, I think he's quite connected to the decisions that need to be made. So people talk about the suitability. Perhaps it will be more suitable for other areas for these reasons I have just mentioned. But as to whether certain ministers would need to be moved, certainly yes. In fact, we already know this government is an incompetent government. Most of the decisions that they have made, if you relate it to their manifesto, we haven't seen it. The promises have not been delivered. They are so-called 24 hours.
But they say it's in the offing. I spoke to Felix about it. He says
2
that, listen,
years. We are already 2 years.
He says it's
They
so robust
marketed
that we need to do
They
proper
marketed
groundwork.
it as a policy that we're going to provide 3 shift jobs straight away. Now they are reduced to where building 24 hours markets.
He says the 24-hour
Some of
market
these
has nothing to do with the
places-
24-hour economy.
So, really?
Oh, yes.
That's not what some of them said. Then their memo have not gone around everywhere. Because some of the communicators we meet here, they say it start with that.
No, he says it,
And in
it
fact,
has
when you
nothing to do
push
with
them
it.
further, they say even Adenta DVLA office is already open 24 hours.
Yes.
Passport
Ghana
office
Publishing,
is open,
Passport Office, the Tema ports as well.
Do this thing really make sense to you?
Oh,
If we're already having a shortage of passports in the system, now that 24 hours passport office is apparently operating, I doubt whether it is now that it's operating. Because printing can always take place at any time. So for me, there's already incompetency. And the interesting thing that you've mentioned the Minister for Communication and Digitalization. I for him, you already know he's incompetent. Even his negotiations with DSTV, what has come of it? Even DSTV, he couldn't even negotiate. When he was in opposition, he promised so much of this, of which I already think was irrelevant. And yet he took it upon himself that it was relevant. For me, the price of digital TV should be left for market forces. People like me, if it is too expensive, I switch off. But he took it as an interesting thing to do and raised some people's hopes. Did he succeed? No. They deceived him by giving him useless extra channels. And he came out to celebrate that he has already succeeded. He's going to push us again to go for another re-registrations of our SIM cards. If moving him means we'll put a stop to it, let them move him. Because it is an exercise in futility. We don't need those particular extra hurdles to go and then re-register our SIM cards.
but they say that is to secure us as a nation.
The Agri
Get a
Ministry,
proper database.
oh yes, when they were doing it, wasn't he criticizing it? He was criticizing even the issue of Ghana card. He's on record to say that it was a bad decision to issue Ghana cards. Now that he knows the nation is not skilled, and when it comes to the Agri Ministry, certainly he needs to be moved. When he started the so-called Akoko Nkitikiti, we said this was an avenue for pepper soup. Because giving people this 200, yes, I think I mentioned it here.
Yeah.
I just said these people, the quantity that they were giving were not enough to set up somebody. And if you give it to them and somebody who is already struggling, somebody you have promised 3 shift system, he hasn't got shift. He will be starving, and there will be a few chicken elsewhere. He will not use them as his meal. But he said, no. Only God knows how much money they have poured into that particular policy. And what has come of it? His own admission that some of them have used it for pepper soup. Something we were able to predict. Can this kind of person actually put a real policy?
Pepper soup is Nigerian.
Yes. So people of this nature, they are just, they cannot move the interests of the country at large. And look at the northern Ghana. Most of the farmers are crying. There's no market for their produce. Corn in particular is also at 200 and 250. For this region, it's like next year is going to be worse because most of them have made a conscious decision not to farm corn anymore or maize. And if they fail to do that, it means we are going to have large shortage of those grains in the market. So we are going to feel the effect of his bad policies very soon. And it's high time they move him. And if you talk about cocoa farmers with the agri minister, the least said the better. They are already crying. The promises they made to cocoa farmers and what they have actually delivered. They are worse off. And when you push them, they blame the world market. Didn't you know, how can a government not be able to foresee what is likely to happen there? You could have hedged. What stops you from hedging? The ability to focus into the future and know the effect on your citizen is very, very important. You can't just sit down doing nothing. And at the end of the day, you blame the world market. And yet, when your previous government had done more, and you said that was not enough, and you promised more and delivered less. So many of these ministers, when you look at them, there are shortcomings. For me, the shortcoming is not usually the individual ministers, apart from the few I have mentioned. They are part of a rotten system that had no plans. They were just lying to Ghanaians. They conned them. There was no plans. If you again look at the 24 hours economy, what was the plan for it? I think somebody just mentioned something and they just think, oh, this sounds interesting.
But they have put in place measures to start it.
What measures?
The secretariat has been set up. There is a man responsible for it, Gusi Tano. They've also talked about how investments are coming in to get the 24-hour
so
economy
that
started.
Policy they are now talking now, was it the same policy they were talking about when they were in opposition? Was it the same policy? What they are talking now looks so much different from what we were told when they were campaigning. Why didn't they give out the details this way? For me, I knew it was a disaster when President Mahama had the opportunity to speak about it. And when he said that even 9 clubs is going to open 24 hours. It told me he didn't even understand this policy in particular. What is 9 clubs? Even the name night should have told the president that it's meant to be happening in the night. Because this is for unsociable hours event. And when he said it was even going to open 9 clubs, we're going to open 24 hours. Because it didn't give me hope at all.
Right.
So for me, they are going to deliver nothing. So far, it's not good. As I said earlier, the sweetness of the pudding is in the eating, not what they say. Because so far, what they say doesn't reflect the realities.
Right.
And I think come 2028, I never hold them to account.
Love.
Yes, Joshua. You see, I think that to be Ishak, you have to look at certain things in the context of the impact and how it will transform, let's say, a particular sector. Okay. So 24-hour economy, is this something that should be done in a day? One day, you take office, you declare that, yes, from today is 24 hours. A lot must happen. In fact, I recall doing some research around this some time ago. For instance, you see that even with the markets that we're talking about, I've seen the concept is that for every 24-hour economy market, there will be police station associated, fire station associated, other amenities, health facilities, so on and so forth. Because you see, the country itself has many dimensions that you cannot, even in the West, right? Even in the West, where there are places like, let's say New York City, where they say the city that never sleeps, there are still businesses that close. They have opening hours, they have closing hours. But there are places that you can go and still always get that businesses that are open. So you need to engineer an environment that can sustain the 24 hours. So for example, if you take the 24-hour idea, if there's not enough security, people will have issues in the night.
Sure.
Because we know that more, perhaps, criminal activity happens at the cover of darkness than in the open and so on. So for me, if you say that it should be implemented by now, it raises questions about what exactly you're doing, how you intend to do it. For example, when I looked at the 24-hour economy law, when the law was passed, as you said, set up the secretariat and the structures and so on, it is to ensure that you have a structure that can supervise and ensure a certain type of implementation. Now, the question is, would you have done that within the first month after, for example, this administration came to office, and then jump into it? And you know we've had issues about this in the past. For example, when it comes to, let's say, free SHA. So we promised that we'll do it, so we have done it. But look at the teething issues for years. Yeah. So sometimes it is better to figure out in advance the challenges, deal with the nuances, the stakeholders, engagements, and so on. So that when you are saying that you are launching fully, it will be at a level where the buy-in is already there, or the issues or the challenges that you are likely to have been well thought out. And perhaps the stakeholders who will be involved have also brought the ideas on board. Yeah, so for me, some of that, because you see, 24-hour economy is one of those things that when implemented, it will be a significant shift. Look at the efficiency of the regular, let's say, job cycle that we have in Ghana today. 8 to 5.
Yeah.
At 9 a.m., 10 a.m., some people are now getting to the ministries. For example, by 2 o'clock, they are out.
On Fridays after lunch.
We have closed. We have funeral. We are traveling. All those things.
Yeah.
So imagine implementing a three-shift system where you have not dealt with some of these issues. So for me, it is a matter of implementation and thinking through implementation properly, which obviously should be done. But that regardless, what we need to look at as a country is what works and what doesn't work. And for me, whether it's 24-hour economy, any other policy, Google, Kitty, all of them must be well thought out and implemented properly. That's how you get it done. Now, if some people have been given 20, in fact, I recall this story about somebody saying they started their business with 3 cities. You recall?
I do that.
There was even another one who started
a
his
restaurant
business with 10 cities. But you see, sometimes we laugh at some of these things, but the truth is that most people who made it in life, they didn't start with a silver spoon, perhaps. I'm sure you know people personally, or maybe you yourself, where if you look at where you came from and where you are today, you can see a big difference. It's incremental.
Yeah.
So the idea that you have been given 200 chicks, day-old chicks, to help you start a business, you say you have eaten them. How did you eat them? You ate them because you allow them to grow and then you ate them. One chicken can be the start of a big poultry empire, even one. Not talk about 2 or 100 or 200. So for me, if people have eaten the chicks, it means that they allow the chicks to go and they've eaten them. And that consequence is not only about the policy itself, it's also about us as Ghanaians. Because here we are, what our statistics reveal from the statistical service, that we have a youthful population, heavily youthful, who need jobs. Where would jobs come from? Either the public sector is employing you, or in the private sector. We know that there's a significant constraint on public sector, because public sector jobs are mainly administrative jobs. We have a ministry, we have, come and be a clerk or be a technical person, a ministry or what have you. If the economy is not growing significantly, those jobs are limited. And we know even from many instances with our relationship and contact with institutions like IMF and World Bank, a repeated advice to us to check public sector employment. Yeah, because you can't just be employing people to pay them with what? The economy itself must be growing. That's where the private sector is, and that's where the informal sector is. So if somebody today says, I'm not giving you fish, I'm teaching you how to fish. Here are inputs to start with. And based on these inputs, this is the training and what it takes for you to grow that. Every in business starts from somewhere. So if we cannot even be, we shouldn't even be happy or celebrate the fact that people have eaten their investment. Because if somebody can build a multi-million-dollar business with 3 cities, which they started with, or a loan that their mother gave them, 200 cities. What's about 200 chicks that have been given to you? Even if you consume some, you consume all the 200. These are not things that we should take we shouldn't take it lightly like it's a joke. It's not a joke. That is resources that have been put in the hands of Ghana taxpayers' money to support a growth in an industry. How did people consume the investment?
Yeah.
And are being talked about like it's a joke. No. Those people should be held to account as far as I'm concerned. Every person who signed up to take part in that enterprise, who obviously genuinely tried to rear the chicks and maybe they got disease or they died or something, fine. But if you consume the investment, there should be consequences. I don't know, for example, all the details or whether they sign on to some terms and conditions and so on. But for me, those are people, that's not something that we should take lightly, and we should rather go after them because it is an investment in the future of those young people who went for it. And those are the kind of things that will help transform the country and grow the country. Not because, they have used it for pepper soup and other things. No, it should never be taken as a joke. We should take it.
And to also know that we might know these people because the minister said they send the videos to them. He said they send the videos to him, consuming the.
I think that's where perhaps people are taking on the minister because the question is what has happened since those videos
exactly
were
because they were sent to you.
No, absolutely no. That is taxpayers' money that's been given to people to help them.
Absolutely.
Look at the big companies and rich people we look at. For example, even someone like Elon Musk. In the US system, when you start your business, your idea, you go to venture capitalists, private equity firms. They essentially take people's investment and give it to you to give you a chance. Yeah. Look at where Elon Musk has reached today. All the people, the history of Facebook, we know how Facebook started. It started by students in university. Where was the leap? They got a leap when they were able to get venture capital funding to build it. Today, Facebook is a multi-billion-dollar business. Sure. So if you have been given 200 chicks, like I'm saying, this is not something we should even laugh about. We should make sure that those people who have received them account for them.
Right.
Yes, because that could have been a seed that would have created the next, maybe the largest poultry farming in Africa. Yeah. It's possible. From 200 chicks, you can start that way. So, for me, implementation of policies has always been a challenge in Ghana and across Africa. Of course, Ghana, we have a particular challenge because we know we have all the best policies on paper for implementation. So when there are implementation issues, we fix them and we proceed. But we shouldn't even think about scrapping such a policy because as far as I'm concerned, it is a kind of policy that can help transform the country. And we should encourage more of those so that people, like young people who don't have jobs, because there is no, as they say, grammar school jobs. Those jobs are not there. To come and be an administrative clerk in a ministry or to be, an administrative assistant somewhere. Those jobs are not there. We need entrepreneurs. We need business people so that they can generate income, export products, and so on to help the economy grow.
Sure. Ishak, I'll give the final word on this.
Yes. I listened to my friend, but I cannot disagree. You see, 24 hours economy. The Chinese have a saying that only fools have learned from their own mistakes. Other people have made mistakes for you to learn from. If you look across the world, governments do not consciously create 24 hours economy. You build your country in such a way that the economy in such a way that people take advantage of some of these successes. For example, no country have ever succeeded by just pushing the public sector. It's a private sector. Mm-hmm. If the economy is doing well, for example, in the tourism sector, and more visitors are coming to the country, nobody will tell the hotels to open 24 hours. Do you understand that? Other countries, if you look at the Caribbean, that's what happened. it is making, so these particular policies where we are talking about, not consciously creating the 24 hours economy. It was just coined for gimmick. And already, as we pointed out, there were already 24 hours economy in certain areas. For example, hospitals are already running 24 hours. But there are some areas that it doesn't make sense to have a 24 hours. And a good example is a market in some particular areas. How many people go to Makola in a night to buy something? Because there are certain periods it's just good to rest the body. Essential services areas is meant for 24 hours. People would go there. Because if you are sick, you can't say it's in the night, you get to the hospital. If you're a tourist who is arriving, perhaps the airport is running 24 hours, you arrive. The hotel would open if there's a need for it. So
you're saying it should be demand-driven?
Of course, it has to be demand-driven. There are some countries, like good example like Britain. Some few years ago, everything used to shut down on Sunday. But if you go to London, many places are no longer shut down on Sundays. The demand have changed. People are losing more faith. Maybe people used to go to church more. They no longer go to church more. Perhaps they do trade it. They use Sunday as a way of doing shopping. So these things can be done. Not government really consciously doing it. But it was very misleading to tell people they were going to create it. Especially when you market it about 3-shift system. That's what we are talking about. Because most of these young people were misled. For example, like a law of contract, if you give certain misrepresentation, it was more or less a misrepresentation, marketed like voters, you get job, because 24 hours economy is going to come, where you have 3-shift system and you get a job. That is where we are talking about. But for the Greek thing, yes, I agree with you that when public money is spent, we shouldn't take it as a joke. This is the reason why we said the agri minister ought to go. Because he had taken it as a joke. When he was narrating it, he wasn't narrating as something he was upset about. It was something for us to laugh about. That's why he was taking it. Because he doesn't take spending public money to be a serious issue. Because we knew that there will be a shortcoming of it. Joshua, didn't we predict that some people are going to eat this chicken before he mentioned it, when it was being implemented? I mean, and you said they should hold them accountable. Somebody who is hungry. And we don't know whether, we don't know whether feeding was part of the package. I don't know whether you have taken care of a chicken before. If feeding is not part of the package, do you know how much chicken eat? I have had chicken before, and I continue to have chicken. Even in the middle of the night, as soon as you switch light and throw feed at the chicken, they start eating. So if we do not add proper feeding to this particular program, how are they going to maintain that? So maybe we need to look at that particular area, other than just to hold them accountable. I'm not sure whether you are suggesting we should prosecute them. I am not even sure whether a crime can be committed there. Perhaps maybe they should pay back. Was the program meant to be paid back? I doubt it. I don't think there was the initiative included people returning chicken or returning some money. That wasn't the program. And whatever was the case, I think it was mostly for party boys. It wasn't a program meant for every Ghanaian. From the complaints we've heard, it was like they just selected their party members and they were giving them the chicken.
Right.
And the thank you they gave is to do pepper soup. And that is what we are sad about.
Ishak is very important. He's very interested in the pepper soup part.
I don't know who Ghana is eating pepper soup.
The minister said it.
Yeah, but gentlemen, before we even wrap up, yesterday I saw the statement from the Ghana Bar Association, and it's become expedient because of the vacation court system, where some cases are to be heard during the legal vacation. Now, GBA states it quite clear that it's vacation for a reason. We need to go on vacation. So they do not necessarily, they are asking the Chief Justice to basically reconsider the decision for some cases to be heard, particularly because of petitions that have been brought before them by Atachia and the other council too. So let me start with you, Ishak, on this one.
I think the call is in order. If you look at some of the cases that say they should continue, they seem to be political cases. There are mostly cases being prosecuted. There are mostly prosecutions of the opposition members. And that also raised some eyebrows, whether this thing should be. especially when the lawyer said they need a break. And I believe the break need to be taken seriously. Whilst I quite recognize the need for, I think historically they have always left some skeletal staff and a few judges to handle certain important cases. But from what you've heard about Atachia and others, they really need a break. And are you able to continue a case when a lawyer feels he's not able to continue for some time because he is not able to get a break? And I think everybody deserves a break. And this is a culture that's another culture we lack in Ghana, which is actually a good culture. Do you understand that? You cannot continue working. I remember when President Kufuor came to power, there were certain things that came up. The moment they ask somebody who have never been for a break for almost 10 years, 15 years, has never taken a leave, if they ask you to proceed on leave, they usually take it to be a sign for being sacked. But when you take a break, you freshen up. You are able to forget some of the things that are, the overburdenment is just lessen. But I'm not sure why we don't have that culture of taking breaks. Maybe break to go back to your hometown, travel with your family to freshen up. And I believe it can also lead to productivity. So I think the CJ need to take the call of the president of the Ghana Bar Association seriously. So as much as possible, we should take a break. But I do recognize that historically the court had continued with some few cases.
Yes.
But it should not be politically driven or politically motivated. There are certain people, we need to process them quickly and put them behind bars. From what I've heard about the lawyers who spoke, it seems to be the case that, look, we really need to get this done very quickly. And they say justice doesn't have to be done. It has to be seen to be done. And then people even realize that the process. So, for example, everybody has the right to legal representation. If the lawyer actually feel I really need a break, but the CJ say no, and they turn down those clients, if after they return they are convicted, have those people really seen justice when they don't have competent legal representation? So I think they ought to listen to them and take it seriously.
And those who countered this argument also raised the case that, well, in as much as Atachia is kicking against it, he's also moved for an appeal to be heard, a consideration to be heard on the 19th of August, which is actually in the vacation period as well.
Yes. So it could be that he's overwhelmed. So while he might not take a complete break, maybe he needs the job to be less. I'm not sure what informed his decision.
Right, because Chairman Huntumi's appeal...
Yes.
His bill pending appeal, is supposed to be here on the 19th of August, which is also in the legal vacation. He's presented by Atachia.
Okay. So I'm not here to speak for Atachia, but I'm just saying that because it is a break, I think the GBA one is the one we are actually talking more about.
Absolutely.
So
but the GBA says it is based on the petitions that Atachia had brought.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know what informed me.
But you believe...
I believe taking a break is necessary in almost every job, including even the university where we teach. Break is very, very important for everybody.
Right.
If you are not taking break, even you... I think you have less productivity if you don't take a break to freshen up.
Okay.
Yes.
Long.
Yes, so it's not that the GBA kicks against vacation cuts, because vacation cuts are always there.
Yes,
we do. So I think in terms of the description that we have on the screen, it's not against vacation cuts. You are talking about specific cases. Now, to be honest with you, the basis on which these, or let's say certain cases were to continue, I'm not sure what went into it, but I believe that specific judges gave directives about those cases as far as you're concerned. Now, what happens typically for the courts is that we have vacation courts. So in Accra, for example, let's say there are about 50 high courts. Some of them will be vacation courts, maybe about 15 or 20 of them. Or let's say about 15 of them will be vacation courts. So that during the months of August to first week of October, those courts will sit on matters that are there. Typically, the courts will sit on any matter like applications, emergency matters, obviously, because if, let's say, somebody slaps you during a vacation, you are not ready. You are not going to wait. You might want to say yes. So it's typical for even new, fresh cases can even be filed during a vacation. All that. Only thing is that perhaps the other side may say that, oh, I'm not around. I've traveled and all that. So they can always still send a notice to the court. And the courts obviously are quite inclined to adjourn to when the legal term starts, which will be in October. But as you said, there are many things you can do during the vacation, and it includes even doing a trial,
Right.
if the parties are so amenable. Now, the question of whether you want to be tried for 3 years or you prefer to prove your innocence within 1 year is up to everybody to make their own choice or decision. Absolutely. At the end of the day, that is something that can always be done. So in this case, we've seen the petitions from not only Atacha, but also from Godfrey Dame as well. And the Chief Justice, I'm sure, will consider it, including the one that the GB has also shared.
Yeah.
I doubt that it relates to only these cases. Perhaps there may even be other cases that are ongoing like that, which are not political, like the ones that we hear of. Because, and I've been making this point since, we hear the kind of comments that come out when it has to do with political cases. For example, let's say, Chairman Wuntimi was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
Yeah.
I said, somebody who even stole one goat may have been sentenced to even 50 years. Can you just compare? But because those people are not
politically
exposed, they are not public figures and so on, we don't hear their matters and so on. So at the end of the day, in this case, the lawyers are pleading for time to be able to rest and all of that. I'm sure the Chief Justice will consider their request because the Chief Justice has the power to agree to it and so on. And I'm sure it will be considered. But let's not make no mistake, trials can continue during the vacation so long as the parties are amenable to that. That notwithstanding, generally during vacations, motions are presented, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, if you bring any application, the other side can say, I'm on vacation. So the judge should give them time. And what it means is that to be moved. So for example, this application you talked about related to bail pending appeal. Of course, when we go into bail pending appeal, and just in a moment I'll talk about that, but it will be filed against the Attorney General because this case was prosecuted by the Attorney General. So if the Attorney General's office they are on vacation too, so the bail pending appeal cannot be heard because they also need time to rest it. That's what it means. It means that most likely it might even be adjourned to November. Of course, we are talking about the liberty of a person, which is bail, because if somebody genuinely can be out today, why will you put them out tomorrow? Because the liberty of an individual, especially a citizen, is taken quite highly as far as our laws are concerned under Chapter 5. But guess what? Bail pending appeal is a different kind of animal from regular bail when you are being tried. Because we talked about this in Section 96 and 7 of the Criminal Procedure Act, or what the Martin Pebu took to court and so on, that every offense is bailable. But when you have been convicted, it's not straightforward. The reason is because when the case is ongoing, the principles are around whether you'll be present for trial each time it is called. That's why you see that sometimes the conditions include taking your passport and other things, because we want you to be in the jurisdiction so that you can appear. And if you want to travel, then you seek leave of the court to do so. That is when you are being tried. But when you are convicted, when you apply for bail, the conditions are not, or the principles are not as simple or straightforward. The reason is because when you have been convicted, it is a court of competent jurisdiction that's already found that on some evidence, the elements were proven. And when you are granted bail during appeal, what it means is that you'll be home while the appeal is being considered. So what the requirement is for those types of bail applications is that on the face of it, there must be evidence that you have a real likelihood of success on your appeal. You must show the court that there are exigent circumstances or situations that require that bail be given you whilst you're on appeal, including things like your health or something egregious, like clearly shows that we need. Otherwise, you will be in prison whilst the appeal continues. And then at the end of the day, if you are successful, obviously, if your appeal is successful, you'll be let out. So bail pending appeal should not be confused with the bail that you can apply for when the trial is ongoing. Yes, because for regular bail, it's about whether you'll be available to appear at trial when you're required to. So this is a very special species. And as I'm saying, because of that, if the AG's office also is on rest or vacation, it's likely that it will be adjourned, because this is not one of those where it's just a new trial starting and the judge has to consider question of bail pending trial. The trial is done. Judgment has been given. Sentence has been imposed on the person. And for now, until their bail is granted or appeal succeeds, the bail is not likely to be. It's not one of those that was automatically considered. You must show very special circumstances before it to be granted.
Right. So you also you side with the GBA on this. That's some cases.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We have been having legal vacations forever. Yeah. It's always been the case. Like I said, when you have a trial during legal vacation, if you and the other side both are on the same page, we go into court to throughout vacation and complete. But if one side is saying that I'm not available, fine. Yeah. It goes both ways.
And Ishak, you agree?
Yeah. I quite agree with him. Yes. No issues when it comes to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, we are running out of time, but briefly, the Lands Minister upholding the withdrawal of the mining license of Adamus Mining Resources. Your thoughts on this? Because there are those who thought that, well, once it goes to the review, because List was challenging it, that indeed the license was not revoked properly, to say. But then the minister says, listen, we are upholding this revocation of the license.
I'm not familiar with this particular story. You mean, is it connected with the mining the forest reserves?
Yes, Angela List.
Okay.
Adamus Mining was found complicit in one way or the other. And so the mining license was revoked.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, I've always said that when it comes to Galamsey.
And then there were elements of illegal mining as to whether they just similar to what, or not too similar
similar because Section 14
exactly, where given aspects of your concession to someone to mine without
authorization.
Okay. Yeah, so the revocation can be in order. I've always said when it comes to the illegal mining, both parties have had a go at it. We've not been successful. For me, collectively as Ghanaians, we have failed.
Okay.
But they said they have a magic thing for it, that they can resolve the problem. Now they have given it to them. For the benefit of the doubt, as far as they are doing it lawful, I don't have problem with it. And I think they have already revoked mining in the forest reserves.
Yes.
So, and it already we recognize as a party in 2024, just prior to the election, President Akufo-Addo was already talking about, I think he suspended it and said Parliament will have the opportunity to revoke it. So if it's causing real harm to the environment, why not?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Lom?
Yes. So, yes, I've followed that story a bit. As you said, there's some element of giving a concession to some other person without authorization. From the also minister. Section 14, similar to one of those that Chairman Wontumi was tried under. I've seen that. I've seen also, for example, the fact that there were a lot of unpaid, royalties, some taxes, and so on. I've seen that there were a lot of, and we are talking millions, actually, millions of cedis here. So that's quite significant. And there are 3 different concessions. And when it was revoked, first of all, you know that the minerals and mining sector, we have the Minerals Commission element, which is like the regulator, the one who knows the technical aspects of the thing, and they always recommend to a minister what to do. Yeah. So in Adamu's case, for what I've seen, the commission actually recommended to the minister the revocation, which the minister accepted to, and then Adamus made a petition for reconsideration. Yes. And essentially, the minister has confirmed the revocation. Now, if the details that are coming out are indeed true, then the minister would have had the basis to do so. The reason is because, you see, when a company is given a license or a lease, in this case, mining lease for Adamus, that mining lease essentially is like a document that has many terms and conditions. In fact, one of the things, it tells you your obligations, your rights, how far you can go, the scope, all of that. It's like a whole booklet. And they say, for example, that they didn't get the environmental bonds at some point. It talks about, inspections that were done by the Mining Inspectorate Division where they found that they didn't meet certain things. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Ghanaian company or international company. If we have the laws, we should enforce them. In fact, I have one of the belief that today, even if Ghana, we don't enact any new laws, and we implement or enforce existing laws alone, we'll see a significant improvement in our country. Mm. So if the Minerals Commission having recommended, it means that they have tried to engage, I'm sure, the company over time, and it's still not working. That's why I don't recommend, because if you go to Minerals Commission today, the number of companies that have perhaps missed deadlines and so on, plenty, but they are not necessarily revoked. They are always given an opportunity to come back, rectify it, and so on. But to the point where I mean, I saw millions of cities. Now you haven't paid royalties, you haven't paid this tax, you haven't paid that, because of the harmful effect of mining activities. Even when it's being done properly, like in large-scale mines like Adamos, they are also required to have something called an environmental bond. Essentially covers the premium to cover environmental impact, so that subsequent action. All of that is not up to, and if after enough opportunities have been given to rectify those, it hasn't been done, then it doesn't matter whether it's a small company or a big company. I think that the whip must be cracked, and in this case, it has been done. Yeah. Of course, by law, Adamo still has options. Yes. If you are not happy with the minister's decision, you have petitioned for a reconsideration, still rejected. The courts are also there, and so long as it is a decision by a minister in that official capacity, it is subject to judicial review, and it can always be questioned. So if they believe they have a strong case, they can do so. But from what I've seen, I think the minister is within his rights to do so.
Very well. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the legal education as well, and also helping us to appreciate the issues from different perspectives. I'm grateful for your time. So that's Alom Nuku Alija. He is a private legal practitioner and also a law lecturer at the Faculty of Law at GIMPA. And Ishaq Ibrahim, who is also a member of the MPP's Legal Directorate. He is a law lecturer at UPSC as well. And he's practicing both here in England, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a big man. Well, thank you so much for coming. We've got more for you after this break, so stay with us. This is GA Today here on GHOne Television. for staying on with us. This is GA Today here on GHOne Television, and it's time for Health Alerts. And today, we are going to be talking about something very crucial, very important. And I want to ask you, have you ever asked your mother how long you were breastfed? And whether you were breastfed properly? Is there anything like proper breastfeeding or improper breastfeeding? Well, we are talking about it because the month of August is actually breastfeeding month. And this week is World Breastfeeding Week as well. So we're getting to talk about it and get to appreciate it more. And to help us with that conversation, I have Abdul Razak Muniratu, who is a nutrition officer at the Ghana Health Service. And she's joining us with baby Nathaniel. Hi, Munira. How are you?
Hello, Joshua. I'm good. Yourself?
I'm well. It's just that Nathaniel is looking at me in some weird way. I don't like it.
Oh, he's glad to be here.
Absolutely. But talking about breastfeeding, how or why is it so important that we need to talk about it?
Thank you very much for having me, as usual. Yes, so breastfeeding is very, very important. And as you have rightly said, this month, the whole of August, most especially from the 1st to the 7th of August, we celebrate World Breastfeeding to mark its importance and also to help us amplify the importance of breastfeeding, not just for the mother, but for the family, the baby, and the entire community as well. Yes, so we as health workers, it's very important for us to be able to give the mother the right information for her to know exactly how to breastfeed. I heard you saying if there's proper breastfeeding or not yet. So she knows how to do it properly.
Right.
We have position and attachment, how she's going to do it. In fact, how to even make that decision whether to breastfeed or not in the first place is also something she will need the information to make that decision and to help her breastfeed. How to initiate her baby from the onset, once baby comes within the first 1 hour. These are all the information we need to give her, and even the exclusive breastfeeding and then continued breastfeeding for 2 years. She will need all this right information to be able to make that decision to breastfeed, for the baby to reap all the benefits breastfeeding has to offer. And not just that, she will need the support from the family and friends and the community as well.
Right.
Support in terms of helping her at least take baby for a minute or two for her to have a nap, to do her little chores, or just something that will lessen her burden, and then give her the freedom, and then be able to, for her to be able to breastfeed the baby as and when baby demands to be breastfed. And lastly, the environment in which she finds herself, either in the home, should be a suitable one. I mean, it should be one that is free of stress, because for breastfeeding to be successful, the environment the mother is in should be stress-free. She needs to be free of anxiety and then worry, because these hinder the breast milk production. And then if that happens, baby is automatically not going to get all that baby needs to grow and thrive very well. So it's very important that we all come on board, because breastfeeding isn't just for the baby alone.
Right.
The benefits is for the mother, like I mentioned, the community, and even the nation as well. We all stand to benefit. We all support breastfeeding to go on very well.
You talked about the initiation within an hour.
An hour, yes.
Which means that after an hour of childbirth,
Yes.
usually,
Yes.
the mother is supposed to introduce the breast to the baby.
To the baby, exactly.
But does that really happen? Because I remember some instances where right after childbirth, there was no breast milk flowing. And so then we had to look for other options as well. So talk to me about how that is occasioned.
Yes. So it's very important. We call it early initiation. As the name implies, is putting the baby to the breast within that 1 hour to help the milk set in. Okay. So even though once the woman sees or is pregnant, the milk production begins. Okay, everything starts processing. But the more she puts the baby to the breast, it lets the milk to set in, and then baby can benefit. So in situations where we have the mother has put to bed and then is separated from the baby, or baby is kept away from mother, which usually happens in most of our facilities, the milk doesn't set in quickly. And that is when you have, like you were saying, you were tempted to go and get other formulas for the baby, which wasn't really the best option. Yes, so the more mother and baby are put together, we say rooming in, put together, the baby is on the breast and suckling, the more baby suckles, the more the milk is being produced, because that is the normal phenomenon. Once baby is put to the milk, to the breast, the more baby sucks, the more the milk is being produced. It's like a well. So once the baby is doing it continuously, it produces. Yes. So if you break that link, then obviously the milk production is going to be limited, and then baby is not going to end up getting enough milk. And then as parents as we are, once baby comes and within that period baby is crying, it's not getting that feed, then you get worried. So you are tempted to resort to other forms of feeding aside breast milk, which is obviously not the right choice to do.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know this.
Yes.
And I'm glad we are getting this education. But then in your submission as well, you mentioned how to even properly position the baby, yes, and when to give breast milk. And for a period of 2 years.
Yes.
Thankfully, my mother tells me I sucked for 2 years.
Oh, that's good.
But I don't know people who do 2 years now. Because of work schedule, mother has to go back to work, so there is no time. So sometimes they, what's the name of the word? What's the word? They express the milk, keep it in fridge or something for the baby and go to work.
It's possible. And breastfeeding, you can do it for the 2 years. That is the optimal, okay, yes, and the best for the child. You can even do beyond 2 years, but 2 years is okay, because science has proven that children that are breastfed for up to that year get better growth development, have better brain development, and they are able to thrive. That explains how my brain is
That's
why you are so smart, obviously.
Right.
Yes, so coming to the fact that most people are not able to breastfeed, as you mentioned, for this fact that they have to return to work after 3 months, mostly for we working class mothers, yes, especially those in the private sectors, that link is broken. So they do not get that time to breastfeed, at least the exclusive breastfeeding cry. It's a problem. Yeah. The 6 months cry is a problem, not talk about the 2 years, yes. So it's very important that it's possible. We always say it's possible. These are some of the myths and misinformations that people have. You can breastfeed, okay, by expressing it. So the problem usually is people wait till the day or a day to resuming work, and then they now sit to express the breast milk. It will not come. Okay, the breast milk will not flow. You will not get enough to store. So what we actually advise and counsel mothers on is that when you have given birth, you are home. During that period, at least you have the support of the family, at least maybe grandma or someone might be home to assist you to lessen the burden, give you that support I mentioned earlier, so that you can be relaxed, feed baby. Yeah. Once baby is suckling, there is more breast milk. So after baby has finished suckling, you can just relax and start the expression. Once you are relaxed, because I did mention that when the mother is worried, when she's stressed, there's anxiety, it hinders the milk production. So she needs to be very relaxed, have that conducive environment to enable her to get enough breast milk. So while she's at it at home, she has that suitable environment, it's the right time for her to start the expression. Not wait till a day before resuming work, then she says to express. She won't get the milk. So once she does that, she expresses the milk, she stores it in the fridge. It can be in the freezer for up to a year. Yes, in the freezer.
Freezer?
Yes. All she needs to do is to label it, the time that she expressed it, and then the date, and then put it inside the freezer. So whenever baby is going to be breastfed with that expressed milk, we just have to do first in, first out. So the first breast milk that was expressed first is what has to be used first, and in that order until it's finished. But you can do it. So we don't usually see the reason why that breastfeeding link should break. It's possible. Right. Okay, you can breastfeed. You just need to have, like I said, they need the right information. If we are all privy to this information, I'm sure we won't have any challenges. Yeah.
Now, there's this 6 month exclusive breastfeeding.
Yeah.
That suggests that within the first 6 months of a baby's life, you don't feed the baby anything else but breast milk.
Yes, please.
I know people who they couldn't even do exclusive for 2 months. They started introducing the baby to formula and all of these things. Yeah. Now, what is the danger in not adhering to this 6 month exclusive breastfeeding?
All right. Thank you very much. exclusive breastfeeding, like you have rightly said, for the 6 months, no water. Even medication, sometimes we say one that is prescribed only by the doctor, because breast milk contains all the nutrients that the baby needs, and it has ample amount of water in it. Okay, so what happens is when you are breastfeeding and then you are adding water to the baby's breast milk, you are sort of diluting the whole nutrient content of the breast milk. Aside that, once you give baby water, baby's tummy at that age is very little. So you already occupy that small space that is there. So there's little space for breast milk to also find its way there. So it sort of hinders baby's growth because it's just water. We are just giving water, and baby is not taking enough breast milk, which contains all the nutrients baby needs to grow and thrive. So you have issues where baby might be growth faltering or might fall sick frequently because the breast milk contains what will I say? Is the first vaccine for the baby. So
Okay.
their immune systems are being strengthened when they take breast milk. Okay, it has protective proteins, white blood cells that sort of protects the baby, because you know the yellowish yellowish substance breast milk that comes first contains all these vitamins A and other vitamins that are good for the eyesight, helps with the vaccine for the baby to protect
But that
the
is
baby.
something that people actually want to
They
throw away. They
discard,
don't give it
yes.
to the baby because they
So
say
these
it's...
are the myths. They discard it. They say it's dirty milk, so they have to discard that and wait till they see the white
whitish,
one.
yes.
You get it.
Well,
So
that's actually
that
important
is
for the babies as
the
well.
first vaccine for the baby. It contains vitamin A. That is good for the eyesight and then helps protect the baby from all kinds of infections and strengthen the baby's immunity. Okay, yeah.
Very, very interesting. So that 6 month exclusivity is very, very important,
Very, very important.
To the baby. But there are some who say that, oh, my baby does not get filled only on breast milk. The baby eats too much and I'm tired. I cannot continue breastfeeding the baby so many times within this period. And that's why they introduced the formula. What would you say to such mothers?
Yes, not enough breast milk is something we commonly hear. I don't have enough breast milk. There's no baby is crying, no funny, and so like it's not enough. Yes, we hear that very often. But when I was speaking earlier on, I did mention that the position and attachment, they are very, very important. These two goes together. Okay, so if you miss one, baby is not going to get enough breast milk.
Okay.
And I mentioned earlier too that once baby keeps sucking, the more breast milk that is being produced. So if you are getting the attachment wrong, you are getting the position wrong. Position is how you hold baby to
So
the
hold
breast.
Nathaniel
Yes,
for
let
me.
me do that for you. So for the positioning,
Yes.
you ensure that baby's buttocks is in the center of your palm, right, like that, and then the hand is not flexible, so we can just do it. So the other hand here goes under my under your armpit, back there like that. But firstly, you, the mother, you need to sit up straight, like I'm sitting, very comfortably. Okay, you don't need to lean down to do the breastfeeding. And if you are sitting this way and still you are not comfortable, you can get a stool to just support your leg a bit, lift it up a bit to support you. So when you do that, then you know that as I'm sitting, baby's buttocks is here, the one hand is over here. You see the baby's tummy will touch my tummy. Okay, and then automatically you see baby is looking up to me. Okay, so it sort of even strengthens the bond between the mother and the baby. As baby is sucking, baby is looking at you, you are smiling.
Singing for
yes,
baby.
so yes. And this is the position. So that's the position. So now the attachment is how you hold the breast into the baby's mouth. Okay, that is what we call the attachment. And I sent some pictures to the producer if we could show it.
So producers, please let's start showing the attachments. We want to see how it's done. The pictures.
The anatomy of the breast.
Right, the anatomy of the breast.
Yes. So when you look at the anatomy of the breast, you realize that if you have seen the breast before, you know that we have this
they've
black
all seen it
portion.
before.
Yes,
Don't
they've all
mind
seen it before. You realize that we have this black portion on the
around
outer
the
part
area.
of the nipple. Thank you. We call it the areola. Okay, that is where not this one, there's another one.
There's another one,
yes.
please, quickly.
That is where, yes, that's one.
Right.
So when you look at it very well, you see the black portion. And you see we have smaller ducts coming from the top there to where the black portion is, and it widens when it gets to the black portion. So when the milk production is done on top there, from where we have the square box around the milk producing cells, it comes down to the larger ducts where we have the wider pipes, that's where the milk is stored. And you see it is at the areola where the black portion is. Okay, so when baby is suckling, you ensure that baby takes most parts of the black portion.
The
so
areola.
baby, yes, the areola. So the mouth has to be very wide open like that to be able to take in most parts of the areola. So
it's not just the nipple.
No,
that goes into the
baby
mouth
should
of the
not
baby.
suck from the nipple. No. That is the mistake most people make.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, once the nipple enters the mouth,
we think
done.
baby is sucking, but there are disadvantages to that, because when baby is latching on to just the nipple, you realize that baby might just be pulling in air, and baby might not get satisfied. That will answer your question that you asked. Baby might not get satisfied because the amount of milk that is coming is not enough. So you see that baby ends up staying so much on the breast and you get tired. You'll be like, that's where you start thinking, oh, the breast milk is not enough for the baby. It's not this. You put baby down within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, baby is awake again and is crying, disturbing you. So you feel, yes, baby is not satisfied because baby didn't get enough milk because he was latching on to just the nipple and not where the milk is, the black portion, which is the areola. So you make sure that baby grabs most part of the areola and then sucks. Okay. So you get that, and your 4 fingers should be under the breast, and then the thumb on top like that. Not to cover the black portion, but it should just be like that, and then baby takes the breast milk. So together, they go together. So if you miss one, I always say, if you miss one, you see people breastfeeding and then baby's legs are somewhere, mother's like scattered all over the place.
Spread their legs like that.
Yes. We have various positions as well that you can breastfeed. So if you think this one is not comfortable for you, some say their babies are too big, they cannot carry the baby. But trust me, when you do this, it's very, very easy. Yes, when you do this, you can handle baby. Aside that, if you feel still the baby's weight is too much for you, you can, we have the positions too.
Yes,
they can do that. This is called the cradle one. That's the normal one we all know. Yes, that's the cradle. Okay, we have positions, other positions that the mother can lie down and then baby on the hand. Yes, as we are seeing on the screen. So that's, you see that one there, the side lying. The mother. So
with that positioning, you can even have twins.
Lying down, side lying. Yes,
like
yes, we have the cradle for the twins. Yes, twins can suck in that position. Even the underarm, which we have that way, twins, you can breastfeed twins as well. Okay, so it's possible.
But the same handling.
Yes.
The black spot should go into the mouth of the baby.
That is
a thumb on top, 4 fingers beneath the breast.
Yes.
So for those of you who are yet to marry, cartoon, you have to be learning this and be teaching
and please, they shouldn't be doing the scissors. Most people like doing that. Yes.
Yeah.
We like doing this.
Please,
no,
please don't
like
do that.
This.
Don't do that.
When we do that, it sort of blocks the duct where the milk
will
is.
pass.
So the passage is not able to.
Becomes narrow.
Yes. And
Maybe
if you are not careful,
milk.
you, the mother, might even get a blocked duct, which is even very, very painful.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So there are things, before we come to even the things to feed the baby after the 6 months, the mother, sometimes I've heard mothers complain that my breast is not producing milk. So I have to, there are times they say you have to eat corn stuff and things to whip up the body's production of milk.
Yes, we hear that too very often, yes. Sorry. Yes, but the truth is, when you look at our locally available foods that we have in Ghana, yes, as we see on the screen, there's something we call the 4-star diet. It's just our normal food items that we have grouped them into groups in stars in no particular order. So when you look at what we have on the screen, you see that we have fish, meat, egg, cheese. What do we have? Yes, all that's falling under 1 star, grouped in one group. And these are the animal source proteins. We have them, don't we?
We do.
We do. And then when you come down, you see we have some nuts, groundnuts. We can have peanuts, brown beans. all those also fall under 1 star. We consume them, don't we? We do. And then we have our fruits and vegetables also up there taking 1 star. We have the mangoes, the pawpaw, oranges, pineapple, cabbage, tomato, ademe, ayoyo, all the greens also taking a star. And then the staples, which we even consume more here in Ghana. Yes. So we have it, the cassava, the plantain, the rice, gari, bread, all this also fall under 1 star. So at a meal, when you are to eat within a day, at a meal, just make sure that you are picking from each grouping to make up that meal. Don't we eat it? When you are eating your TZ with ayoyo, know that you are having your staples from 1 star. We get that. You definitely are getting your greens from the fruits and vegetables. You get your tomatoes, you get your ayoyo or whatever from it. And then you can have your meat and then your fish from the animal source protein. Isn't that a 4-star diet? Yes. And sometimes, it depends on the kind of meal you are eating, just make sure that you have it from all these groupings. So the breastfeeding mother, these are just the same meals we have in our home. So there isn't any special kind of food that is named that, oh, for a breastfeeding mother, eat this. We eat granola soup. We all eat, don't we? So if you eat it and then it sort of has on, it's because you have eaten very well, you are satisfied, it's nutritious, and then it's helping with the production of the breast milk. But not because that food particularly, there hasn't been any scientific evidence to really back that for us now. Right. So it's just our normal food groupings that we have that we should ensure that we are eating from the various food groupings. And that should be okay for the breastfeeding mother.
And for the baby, when you are basically introducing the baby to new foods after the 6 months of exclusive breastfeeding, what are some of the things that you can introduce? Because some people want to go straight to Banku, and I'm thinking cartoon, that's how they started for him.
So, as I rightly said, after the 6 months, we have to now start introducing child to complementary feed and additional food, because after the 6 months, the breast milk alone is not sufficient or enough for the baby. There's a little gap, so we need to fill in that gap. Right. Yes, so the need for the introduction of the family foods to the child's diet. Yes, so we usually go with the same 4-star diet. It's for everyone. This meal grouping is for everyone.
It's for both mother and baby.
It's for you, mother, you,
and father.
Inclusive. Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody can adapt this grouping to aid with the development. Yes. So for the baby, we know that once baby starts to, we are introducing food to the baby. What usually most parents do is that, oh, yeah, it's exciting. Your baby has been sucking now, baby, it's time to eat. Most parents are so happy that they have to introduce food. So the excitement usually makes them cook the food plenty. I mean, they fill the bowl plenty and they expect baby to finish it.
It's still a baby.
It's not, baby will not be able to finish it. Right. So what's the ideal thing is, baby is now getting to taste other food aside breast milk. Baby has been put on breast milk for all this while. So now switching to family food, it might take time for babies' taste buds to adapt to the new family foods that you are being, she's going to be introduced to. So it will take time. So we say gradual taste. 1 spoon is okay. 2 spoons is fine. Don't overfeed baby. So don't put it in a big bowl and expect baby to finish it. You will get disappointed. Baby cannot. So it's just a little gap. Okay. But know that the texture is very important at that age. Baby cannot take the banku that you take. Baby cannot take the banku I take. So the texture is very important. We need to get the variety very well, which we have. And then the amount, the frequency, how often you do it. Because baby is just taking 1 or 2 spoons, you need to make it more frequent so that baby gets enough for the day. Okay. And
well, we are out of time, but I need to ask you this one quickly. Okay. Does the size of a breast matter in breast milk production? Because some say, oh, I have really small breasts, and that's why I don't have enough milk.
Yes.
And then I have huge breasts, so I can produce for the entire community.
No. The size of the breast doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Small breast, big breast, they produce the same amount of breast milk. I think the anatomy of the breast showed we have the same features in each and every breast. All you need to do is make sure baby sucks and keeps sucking and keeps sucking. and then you get your breast
So
milk.
let the baby suck. Don't be. Is it true? Last one. Is it true that when baby drinks the breast or sucks the breast for long, it sucks the breast?
Oh no,
That's why
it's not
people
true.
don't want to
It's not
breastfeed
true.
again. It's not true.
Yes, it's a normal thing. Whether baby sucks or not,
Or father sucks.
or father sucks, or father sucks, whoever sucks.
Yeah.
After 40, your breast will suck. So it's normal. So just give it to the baby.
Give it to the baby and give it to father too sometimes.
give it to baby,
Munira,
father,
thank you so much for coming. This
Thank
has
you
been very
too for having
educative, and I'm
me.
sure that even in this month we'll still have you again
Yes,
to talk
please.
more
Yes,
about
please.
this.
Most definitely.
Thank you so much. So that said, very, very important. Key thing is make sure that you're giving the breast to the baby to suck. Let the baby suck. If it is very healthy for the baby. 2 years, give it to the baby, and don't deprive them of the nutrients that they need. We'll be right back after this break. Oh, beautiful piece of music right there. And we're still here on the show GA Today here on GH1 television with me, Joshua Kodjo Mensah. But before we get into our next interview, I would like to tell you about those of you who have gone for insurance claims. It's either been delayed, denied in certain instances. You are not pleased with how you were treated and all of that. Well, the Ghana Insurance Association's Complaints Management and Advice Bureau, CMAB, is here to help you. So if you've gone through any of the things I mentioned at first, you lodged a complaint with your insurance company and the issue has yet to be resolved to your satisfaction, or any other way, you have the right to escalate the matter to CMAP for an independent review. Now, the good news is that all services provided by the Complaints Management and Advice Bureau, the CMAP, are absolutely free. You don't have to pay a dime. All you need to do is just call 0800 442 000 or 0302 251 091 2093 or 055 255 9698. Call any of these numbers, get to speak to CMAP, and remember that when it comes to insurance complaints, you have a right to a very fair resolution. CMAP says every complaint matters. And this message is brought to you by the Ghana Insurance Association through its Complaints Management and Advice Bureau, CMAP. Now let's get into the next conversation this morning. And I've been joined by two lovely women who are going to be talking to me about an organization and what they've been doing. And they are here about the Touch Black organization, Touchback organization. I've been joined by Augustina Ayarika, who is founder of Touchback. Comfort Kumsin, who is court clerk here with the organization. Ladies, welcome.
Thank you.
You're doing very well.
Very well.
Yes. So let me start with you. When we talk about the organization, Touchback organization, what really led to the establishment of this?
Thank you very much. But with this question, I would like you to throw it to the founder.
Oh, right. Sorry. Forgive me. So, Augustina, talk to me about Touchback.
Okay,
Together,
so,
we touch back.
Yeah.
What are you touching back?
Together, we're touching back lives. We want to give back to the communities that we, by the grace of God, God picked us from, God brought us from. So, Touchback came about in the year, I think, 2019, when I went to do my national service in a community in the Northeast region. So I got there and I was looking around for accommodation. So I got to this house and I saw a young girl that is like, she was like about 9 years. No, not 9, 10, between 10 to 12.
12 years, yes.
And she was at home. And her grandmother was standing there. So I asked for accommodation. I asked her why she's not in school. And she said she doesn't want to go to school and that she wants to get married.
Between 10 and 12. What does she know about marriage?
I got emotional. I started crying. I was like, no, this is not funny. Like, so I asked the old lady, does the girl know what she's talking about? And the old lady, so like, yeah, that's what she says she wants to do. She wants to go to.
At that early age?
Yes. So I spoke to her, and in fact, it wasn't national service anymore because my heart so I went about the community, telling the children the importance of education. I was supposed to be working in the district assembly, but I had to collaborate with teachers to be teaching the children. So many activities that I did there. So I think in 2019, the national service, after my national service, they said they gave me an award that I did well in my national service. So from there, I registered the campaign. I just said, no, I have to go back there. I have to go back to the north and give, because when you get there, I mean, what we see here at Makola with them doing Kayaye and all these things, it's just crazy. They don't want to go to school. So how do you allow a child at that age to just get married? Yeah. They don't even understand what they are going into. So I decided to register the company. So since then, 2020 that I registered the company, it's been like, oh, let me start tomorrow. Let me start tomorrow next. So this year, I quit my job. I said, no, I have to do this because it's kind of like a calling that God gave me to do this. So now I'm back there to educate the girls, not just the girls. We go into the communities to let parents understand that it is not just about giving birth to the child. I mean, everybody can give birth. But how do you support your child, to even take their academics serious? I mean, want to go to school. And after they want to go to school, how do they stay in school? And how do you, as a parent, support them? So we went back to the communities. I think we went in May, yeah.
Okay.
4th May, I was in the north from there doing this project. We are going from community to community, school to school, talking to them on the importance of education.
Right. And Comfort, I see in one of the pictures there, clearly this should mean something to you for you to also want to be a volunteer and partner with such an organization. What does this mean to you?
Okay, I've always been someone who always wants to give back to society. I always want to impact lives. So I went there because we're in the same fellowship in church. So I went there to visit my husband, and I started taking this opportunity to support her work there. And in fact, when I got there, I was so touched because I actually had a girl from the north whom I stay with. She dropped out of school at the age of, she was in class 3. The father died, and because of that, she had to drop out of school because they couldn't pay a levy of 15 cedis for her to continue her education. So I really felt it when I went there and I saw it. I started to join her for us to do everything. So in fact, it means a lot to me, and I felt so good with everything we did in a space of 3 weeks. I stayed 3 weeks with her over there, and I saw the kind of lives that were touched. Because during the first time when we spoke to them about personal hygiene, and the next time we went there, I could see the children. In fact, their uniforms were not as smelly. They were really arranged. Their shoes were neat and other things because of the kind of education we gave them. So in fact, I really felt good. Those who had their uniforms torn, some too didn't even have shoes. We had to buy new uniforms for them, get them shoes. Someone sponsored the shoes and other things. So I really felt good in whatever I went to do there.
Right. And if there is one thing I've heard, is the fact that these things, though they really go to the heart of dealing with certain issues in these areas, it also comes with its associated challenges. They are not, it's not a walk in the park. So for you, since you decided to go into this fully, what are some of the challenges that you've had to battle with?
First of all, I have my family here in Accra.
Oh.
So I had to literally leave everything that is me.
And go to the north?
And go to the north. It's one challenge that, everybody's calling you. You are somebody's wife. So what is your husband saying?
Yeah.
Did your husband agree?
Yeah.
All these things. And number 2, you get to the field and you see that this challenge that I just mentioned is a joke. People are literally drowning in so many other challenges that your own is a joke. So children that can't even, I wanted to share a picture that I went to one school and a child came to school naked. I'm not naked, but without a shirt, not even a singlet. So I was like, of 3-4 years, where's your mother? And the picture is too personal, so I couldn't share it with your team. But these are the challenges that I like. When I go to the field, I get back home and I'm emotionally exhausted. I just feel like, God, what is happening? So because this is part of Ghana. When I go to the field and I look at the state of the children and their learning, the way they learn, and the children up south here, and they have to all go and write BC. We need to do something about that because it's they are competing with people who have first class, schools. Some people, when we talk about even government schools in Accra here, at least they are better. When you go back to the north, the issue, one time Comfort joined, I think the first day, when we went to a particular school, and she was like, oh, into a one shampoo. It's like, and I told her that even that is all the projects I did with her was in town, because we are currently doing this in Navrongo.
Okay.
We started from Navrongo, so we are there in Navrongo. So the school I took her was in town. So I told her that what would you say?
If you go to the hinterlands and you realize that it's even worse.
It's worse.
Right.
So we know people, like she said, everybody sometimes at a point in life, you want to give back to society. But we can't all go to the north. We can't all go to the hinterlands. The challenges are many. Sometimes even for car, there's a picture of us in Keke. And the keke from where we were going to do the program to the road was so bad that you can't even, but we have to sit in the keke and go to the hinterlands and make sure that everybody else is touched. At the end of the day, that's what is life about if you can't give back to the community that we live in.
So, Comfort, being on this particular project as well, what are some of the barriers that you actually were exposed to in terms of why a 9-year-old girl would decide I won't go to school, I rather want to get married, and why it has become normal for them in those areas? What are some of the barriers?
I can say it's cultural factors. Because back in the north, most of the kids, the girls are just groomed to get married. So they are not giving them much attention. And then, of course, who are you marry? So as young as 11, 12, she's seen other people get married at the age of 11, 12. So all that she's ready for is someone to come and marry her. And because their culture system somehow supports that, they don't see anything wrong with that. It's not a problem today. They don't see anything wrong with, in quotes, in it.
Right.
That is why I believe that they are so tuned, because someone down in Accra will not even think about it around 10, 11 years that all that I want to do is I want to get married. No, I want to become this, I want to become that. But there's the support, they have financial challenges too. They don't have someone supporting them through education. Trust me, the girl I'm staying with, she's very beautiful. But because of lack of lack of someone paying levy for her. 15 cedis. She has to drop out of school at the age of, I don't know, she at class 3.
Must be 8, 9, thereabout, yeah.
So now she's staying with me. I have decided to pick, my husband and I have decided to help her through education. We've gotten her a classes teacher who comes teach her. She can't even read, she can't even write. So for there, it's they don't have the finances to take her through.
Yeah.
And the brother who has to support has gotten married to a small girl. So all that she's aiming at, someone just come and marry me and go, because my parents can't take care of me. Nobody there wants to take care of me. So they lack lots of financial problems.
Yeah.
And also the cultural
factor.
Yes. So what I want to say is that, people out here, we can do a lot.
Okay.
We can do a lot for the children out there. If you can support a child from 150 cities and above, you can go a long way. Trust me, when I went there.
Yeah. So how do people get to support? It's very important to me. If people need to support this, because you can't see this and gloss over it. So how do people get to touch back with you?
We have our mobile number account. That is 024-6368-165.
Okay. Again.
And 0246-638165.
Right.
Yes, please. And it's Touchback Organization.
Touchback Organization.
Yes, please.
Right. So anybody who wants to donate or support what you're doing can channel it through there.
Yes, please. And they can equally call us on 0249-447-448. That's
simple.
our number.
0249-447-448.
Yes,
Just
please.
save that number, call them, and see how you can also support such a worthy cause. Yeah. Thank you so much. But final word? Do you have a final word, briefly?
Yeah, I'll just just to thank everybody
Absolutely.
so far and thank you people too for the opportunity you've given us.
Yes.
I want to thank the people that have donated, have supported us so far.
Okay.
They've really been a blessing. They've made this dream come true. It's been on my heart, and God is bringing a lot of people on board to be part of this. If you can't go, just send me.
Just send it.
I'll do.
She will go. She will go. Just send 2,000, 10,000, 15,000, support a worthy cause. Let's take all these kids from their homes, put them in school. It's very, very important. Well, it's the 11th day of August. Some people celebrating their birthday. So quickly, let's wish them a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Ajwa Dimple. Wishing you a day filled with laughter, love, and all your favorite things. And this is from Abraham to you. Wishing you the very best of the day. Happy birthday, Mom BY. Today we celebrate you, an incredible woman that you are. You deserve the best. Thank you for being there. And it's from your children, wishing you the very best of the day. And a happy birthday to my adorable and favorite niece, Priska Anokisi. And it's from your uncle, Samuel Brian Fifi McCarthy, wishing you a happy, joyous birthday. Glorious happy birthday to my big sister, CEO of Geeko's Creation. May this new age usher you to your fulfillment. I love you, Mama Akos, and it's from Queen's Car to you. Happy birthday to an exemplary and virtuous woman. May God bless you abundantly, Mama Eva, and it's from Marian Tichi Yurinchi, your loving daughter. Happy birthday to the Deputy CEO for PSC Temashipyard, Peter Mensah. From all of us here on GH today, we say stay blessed and have a great one. Peter, we are waiting for you. Come for an interview one of these days. Happy birthday to my dearest Don Danso. May your special day be filled with love, joy, laughter, and countless blessings. And it's from your man, Condomson. Wejagbawe Constatuense, wishing you the very best of today. Happy birthday, wishing